Satisfied is how you gonna feel being my husband, so open the door. The girl who says this while banging on our protagonist's door is Elnor, a princess, student council president, and arguably the most ruthless woman in this entire academy. But right now, she wants our boy to answer so she can collect something, and it's not his rent. Our bro on the other side of that door is pretending he doesn't exist, just praying to every god in this world that she leaves. She doesn't. Instead, she stabs the door and announces she's breaking in and starts slicing through everything, while my boy screams that this is against the rules. She's the president and should punish people for this kind of behavior. But she goes, unfortunately, I am the president, so I do what I want. Now explain why you're putting so much effort staying far from me. But before he can even process that, a girl with cat ears appears in the window asking what the hell is going on. That's Saris, a professional assassin that has killed thousands of victims. Elnor tells her to leave because if she saw what she will do to that boy, she will understand the difference between them. Saris just sticks out her tongue and says that whatever Elnor does, she can do much better. Our boy is standing in the middle of this, saying he feels incredibly uncomfortable and has never even considered any of them. But nobody cares what he thinks, because the ceiling explodes. Another girl drops in, tribal tattoo on her gigantic licious thighs, and she tells him the wedding preparations are done and he just needs to come with her. Then a chain flies across the room and wraps around another girl who just walked in, asking why he's always surrounded by snobs. That's why he has to go with her to live a more normal husband and wife calm life. But wait, cause the cast is stacked. A fiery little witch appears, claiming he's belonged to her for a long time, so everyone else should forfeit. He's under a spell and only loves her. 5 women, 1 room, all of them want him and want to kill each other. And this poor bastard is standing in the center of it, knowing that he can do nothing. He's weaker than them all. Now the real question is, how the hell did a guy with 0 stats, 0 skills, and 0 game end up with every dangerous woman in the academy fighting over him? It wasn't my bro's face card or Riz, it was a secret talent he received. See, this boy used to be a regular person on Earth. He played a game called Savior in Ascension, beat it, saw the ending, thought it was great, and then woke up the next day inside the game. Just popped there suddenly, shoved into the body of Dowd Campbell, the son of some irrelevant viscount from a farming town so forgettable it barely even gets mentioned in the original story. Rank in every single stat, but what he did have was a natural talent that only activates around dangerous people. The more evil or threatening someone is, the more attracted they become to him. So all those psychotic women destroying his room, that's not a coincidence. That's his talent working exactly as intended. He is literally built to be loved by the worst people alive, and it just happens that the most dangerous characters there are all girls who will destroy this whole empire. But before any of that chaos and going to the academy, his father told him to keep a low profile. Don't cause trouble. Don't stand out. Dowd agreed completely. He planned to keep his grades below average and live the most invisible life possible. That plan lasted about 2 images, because on the train ride to the academy, he ended up sitting across from Elnor, the woman who will become the final boss. A mommy like Esdef that I would only bark to her if she asks a lot, like 2 times. A princess with a demon sleeping inside her bloodline, who eventually loses her mind and builds a mountain of corpses. And when the train got attacked and a rock came flying at his head, this genius decided the best way to survive with F-rank stats was to dive on top of her and use her magic necklace as a shield. It worked. He survived, but she thought he was trying to protect her. She smiled, asked for his name, and told him she would never forget it. And just like that, his talent activated for the first time. The final boss was now interested in him, thinking he risked his life to save her. But the real disaster came during the entrance duels. Everyone had already paired up, and the only person left was a girl named Elia Crixinax, who was the hero destined to save everything in that world, basically the real protagonist. She's the greatest genius in this world. With a bright smile, she asks if he needs a helping hand. Still a bit dazed, he says yeah, sure. But deep down, he knows. This damn woman is destined to become the savior of the world. The truth is, she's the protagonist of SR. She stands there looking all stunning, holding out her hand to help the boy up. And these chapter opening images are just gorgeous. Thank you, artist. Meanwhile, in another room, someone mentions that Count Crichton and Galenter have also arrived. A girl with glasses wonders if that one has lost her mind. The duels are already underway, so how does she have the guts to be late? And that's when the beast walks in, bloody and magnificent. The girl with glasses wants to ask a million things. But first, where the hell were you? Eleanor simply responds that she had some things to take care of. The woman with glasses tells everyone else to leave. She needs to have a private conversation with her. A little while later, she asks how many people died. Eleanor casually says, not too many, just about 12. They were people trying to kill her, and they had the audacity to attack again even after the train accident. The woman sighs, saying that she should have just let the school handle it. But Eleanor finds that incredibly boring. She wasn't about to do something as tedious as letting other people kill those who tried to kill her. The director tells her to go get ready and head to the duel. If she hurries, she'll get the chance to see Elia Crixinax fight some Dowd Campbell, who she has never even heard of. Eleanor finds that odd. After all, that boy didn't seem like someone who would stand out. But with her plump lips, she smirks, thinking, he's a little different, isn't he? Meanwhile, our boy is trembling in the middle of the arena with the whole crowd calling him a country bumpkin. He knows his stats are absolute garbage. If he takes one hit, he's dead. In theory, though, he should have a small advantage. He has that life-threatening talent now. The more danger he's in, the higher his stats should be. He's also aware that there must be a ton of villains watching him right now. So if he at least doesn't die, he might manage to catch some interest. Maybe, if he plays his cards right, this situation could actually be beneficial. But then, Ilya, with a strange look on her face, calls his name. She tells him to be honest. She already knows he looks incredibly weak. He stumbles over his words, but she just nods. Now I'm sure. She was planning to beat the crap out of him, but now she's starting to pity him. The boy is left speechless. Why the hell is he getting his ass kicked for no reason now? Ilya explains. It's because she knows he was with Elnor, and she hates that woman. Not just her. She hates the entire Tristan house. They're a bunch of demons. Our boy realizes. Damn, this Ilya is really bold to say something like that in front of everyone. But he understands where her hatred comes from. It's all tied to the drama in the story involving her family. He tries to explain that he just got unlucky and happened to end up in the same place as Elnor. But Ilya says she doesn't care, because just looking at him reminds her of that woman and it's pissing her off. She then makes a tempting offer. She asks if he's interested in pretending to fight. The protagonist knows this would be a great option. The problem is, if he pretends to fight, you won't improve his abilities at all. You won't figure out what his talents actually do. The only way he can get noticed is by surviving against her at full force. So that's exactly what he asks her to do. And to really piss her off, he adds, actually, I really like Elnor. Ilya immediately tenses up, gripping her sword, not sure if he's being serious. And since making her really fight is his only option, he doubles down. I'm serious. I like her, just as much as you hate her. At that moment, Deadly Charm activates. Now, every villain watching him is even more interested, and it looks like he just got a new little gift. Ilya clenches her teeth. If that's the case, I won't feel bad about what I'm about to do. In an instant, she's right in front of him. On the first strike, his wooden sword is completely destroyed. She smirks. Well, at least you dodged it. Guess you're not completely useless. She steps forward, preparing to thrust her sword. Now I'll take things a little more seriously. In that life or death moment, Desperate Survivor activates. His strength skyrockets to X rank, and he punches her in the face. And then, he remembers. X rank was the highest rank in the game, and Ilya goes flying, straight into the wall. The arena wall explodes, and everyone, including him, stares in shock. Elnor is standing right there, watching the whole thing. And despite all of his stats being F rank, on his first day, Dodd Campbell just obliterated the protagonist of the world. Man, I really hope that girl isn't dead, because her face is smashed into the pavement. A while later, in a meeting, someone mentions, there's a high chance that kid is a fraud. What he did doesn't make sense. Everyone knows he has low stats. His abilities were checked before the duel, but that attack was definitely real. The one in the glasses asks what he means by that. The scared man responds, no one in all of Elephant could take a punch like that and walk away unscathed. He thinks the boy must have used some kind of illegal substance or a forbidden method to take down Ilya. Of course, there's also another possibility, but it's a weird one. Maybe he's actually some kind of monstrous genius capable of hiding his true power. The girl with the monocle adds, even so, it's going to be really hard to accept this victory. After all, Margrave of Kendrid, the man who sponsors Ilya, isn't just going to sit back and accept something like this. Losing Ilya and their top patron would be a major disaster for the Academy, so they need to expose the boy as a fraud as soon as possible and see how things unfold. The man in green doesn't quite understand what she expects them to do. He explains, every year, tons of interesting new students get admitted. Since this guy is drawing so much attention, he'll soon be forced to act again. And when that happens, they'll know for sure whether he's a fraud or not. Meanwhile, his face is already plastered all over the newspapers. Everyone is asking, who the hell is Dodd Campbell? Our boy is in disbelief that this happened on his first day. He never imagined that damn talent would make this much of a difference. And then, a new profile pops up in his gift list. Obviously, our dear Elnor Eleanorized Latristan. Her trust level just went up to level 2, which means he can collect another little gift. Besides that, while he's sitting in his chair, he notices something. The curiosity of several characters just keeps rising. He realizes there's a pattern. It starts with curiosity, then moves to interest, then finally trust. And these points can be used in the shop. What he doesn't understand is, why is the final boss, who shouldn't care about him, the most interested of all? Then, he receives a technique from the Tristan family's fencing style. The only problem is, that family is deeply involved with demons. But for him, who just wants to survive, it doesn't matter at all. What really confuses him, though, is Ilya Krixanax. She's not an evil person, so why does he have a profile card for her too? Her curiosity level is already at level 4, but he still can't claim any rewards. He knows she's not a villain, not a bad person, and she doesn't even care about him. So why is her card even there? Right at that moment, someone knocks on his door. Is this Dodd Campbell's room? He recognizes that familiar voice. Outside, the person announces, it's Ilya, let me in. Instantly, the boy starts shaking. His plan? Stay completely silent. Hold his breath. Maybe she'll go away. But man, poor girl is standing outside with a neck brace and a face covered in bandages. She suffered. She sighs. I know you're in there. If you don't answer, I'm breaking the door in a few seconds. He panics and yells, are you insane? Now that she knows he's there, she tells him to open up because she has something to say. He hesitates. What the hell does she even want? And then, completely healed and grinning, she says, maybe we should get to know each other a little better. This is the first time the protagonist has hit a girl so hard that she falls for him. Welcome to the red pill world, I guess. Sometime later, she's storming out of his room, pissed. You should have just accepted it. You're way too uptight. Looks like she tried to be friendly, but the maid dragged her out. While she's brooding, wondering how the hell to befriend a guy, someone walks past her, and at that moment, a bag falls to the ground. She kneels to pick it up, and the other person tells her, you should really watch where you're going. Damn, it's Elnor. Dripping with swag, she glances at her. Are you hurt? The moment Elia sees her face, a memory flashes in her mind. A voice. Brother, run. In front of a burning wasteland, a man stands with a sword, and Elia trembles, not out of fear, out of rage. Her instincts make her grab her sword without even thinking. The problem is, she's not sure she can kill Elnor at her current level. But Elnor just stands there, beautiful, unbothered, holding out her giant hand. Get up already. Elia finds it strange. She's certain Elnor saw her reaching for her sword, so why isn't she reacting? And then, Elia mutters, give it back. Ah, now I get it. The bag actually belonged to Elnor, and now she's just returning it. But at the same time, she wants to know, are you really involved with Dodd? Then, Eleanor gives her some very specific directions. Just go to the end of the hallway, turn left, and you'll find Dodd's room. Immediately, Eleanor squints. How do you know where Dodd's room is? Elia, looking awkward as hell, says, I was just with him. Oh boy, this is about to be a mess. Eleanor asks, and what exactly was your reason for being with him? Elia, looking super uncomfortable, says, it's just freshman stuff, you know? Getting to know each other. But Eleanor just smiles and reminds her, new students aren't allowed to interact with the opposite sex. Elia is about to say that she's never heard of that rule, when Eleanor casually informs her, I just made it up, so from now on she better understand that she's no longer allowed to enter that room. Elia doesn't seem to care much. She only wants to know what their relationship is. But Eleanor simply turns around and says, I have nothing to do with that guy. She just needs to learn not to go to his room anymore. But Elia remembers something. The moment when he said, I like Eleanor just as much as you hate her. She knows something's going on between those two. And even if it's just to gather information, she'll have to keep getting closer to him. Now, our boy is heading to the class assignment exam. It's an extremely meticulous and important test in this academy. Students are divided into groups after their one-on-one duels. And since he defeated Elia, he ended up in the strongest group. Everyone there looks proud and confident, while he just stands there, absolutely horrified. And the biggest problem is this girl who won't leave his side. He's been trying to shake her off since yesterday, but now she's in the same group as him, which only makes things worse. Not to mention, her interest in him keeps rising, which is honestly just terrifying. He suddenly remembers. Someone left a bunch of little bread rolls in front of his room, wishing him good luck on the exam. He has no idea if it was her or some other lunatic, but either way, things are not looking good for our guy. At the very least, this exam is part of the story, so things shouldn't go too off script. But his system notification for Elnor says that an event is about to occur. Elnor, as healthy as ever, appears announcing that she will be in charge of supervising them during the exam. Our boy already knows, if she's the one in charge, there's no way something isn't going to happen. The teachers are all gathered, eager to see how the boy who defeated the hero will perform. Eleanor tells everyone to hurry up. She'll be leading them to the exam area. Some of the staff are impressed, commenting that the students are working extra hard this year. The students walk through a dimly lit corridor. Elia immediately asks, is this part of the test? But our boy, he knows exactly what this is. The entrance has been sealed. The power has been cut off. And right then, Eleanor's event activates. And Dodd knows. This isn't a test. It's an ambush. His system notification confirms it. Another assassination attempt is incoming. He quietly observes, while the other students chat casually, assuming that someone will come to rescue them soon. But Dodd starts analyzing. Every single person in this corridor is part of the main protagonist group. This is the event that makes them grow closer and follow the story together. Everyone here is important to the final plot. He steps forward and points to a map. I think it's best if we head to the central hall. It has more space so we can observe the area better. At the very least, that place has equipment, some supplies. And if they get ambushed, it's better than being trapped in this narrow hallway. A girl in nun-like robes raises an eyebrow. Why are you suddenly talking about an ambush? But our boy just shrugs. The student council president and Elia must have already noticed. We're not alone here. He starts walking. Elia stops him. Where are you going? He simply says, it's necessary. But she frowns. The direction you're heading in is completely opposite from the central hall. Our boy, full of hesitation, knows he can't reveal the truth. But this is extremely important, and he'll explain later. His plan? Send everyone to the central hall and stay behind alone so he doesn't get targeted, because the real target is that crazy woman. As long as they can handle it and he stays alive, everything will be just fine. Now they've moved through the corridors and he's relieved. The plan worked. Apparently, punching Elia into a wall gave him a little credibility. Now, all he has to do is wait for the event to end, let them deal with it, and stay completely out of it. However, that's exactly when someone calls out to him. A man says he's here to fix the power outage and asks to be guided. Unfortunately, His vision isn't very good in the dark. Right away, the system notifies him that a dangerous situation has been detected. Meanwhile, in another area, Frisia asks if Dodd will really be fine alone. Maybe something bad could happen. What they aren't noticing is that there are a bunch of assassins right above them. Ilya comments that he probably has a plan, but they should still be careful themselves. Obviously, our dear Elnor has already realized that something is very wrong. Our boy is walking around with that weird guy with his legs slightly spread. The weirdo is thinking that he's sure that group must have been killed by the evil woman. Even that idiot, who seemed to have potential, was easily deceived. A professional assassin like him can gauge a person's level just by observing their movements. And he knows that our boy is a complete amateur. He's going to have some fun before killing him and then eliminating this Tristan. At that moment, the guy calls out to our boy, who glances back. Then he compliments him, saying he did a great job and that it was time to be rewarded. Our boy looks at him and thanks him, saying that at least he's Hamid. The guy is extremely shocked to see that the bastard knows his name. And the protagonist just says he's relieved because if it had been someone stronger, he'd actually be in danger. Phew, he's really relieved to know that the guy is this weak, but he had already figured it out by the way he walked so weirdly. The assassin is confused, not understanding what this lunatic is talking about. But our boy is just thinking that with a desperate survivor, things won't be that difficult. Hamid decides to attack as quickly as possible and finish things before they get complicated. Our boy was preparing himself, while in the other rooms, guys were being slammed against the walls, getting hit by a rain of arrows. Another one was flying and everyone was getting beaten up. No wonder these guys are the protagonist group. Ilya orders Palkas to freeze these guys while she wonders where Elnor is. Meanwhile, Elnor is looking stunning, slashing her blade and sending 4 fools flying into the wall. The poor guys don't stand a chance and spit out everything they had in their stomachs. She immediately grabs the first one and demands to know who sent them. At the same time, the mage is freezing the rest. That's when they find out that someone called Hamid from the Crescent Moon is behind this. Elnor wants to know if he's here as well, but the guy refuses to reveal it. She steps on him. Now, I know some people like the idea of being stepped on by a woman, but I think this one actually hurt for real. Damn, his head is almost cracking, and she warns him that he better talk. The guy finally confesses, saying yes, he came with them, but is in another area. Ilya comments that she's going too far, but Elnor says that anyone who tries to kill her will suffer the same fate. Hamid is a specialized assassin, and right now, there's only one person who's an easy target for him. At that moment, Ilya and the others realize that Dodd went off alone to lure the strongest enemy to himself. Ilya wants to know what the relationship between them is, but Elnor insists once again that there is none. The truth is, she doesn't know him well enough. So she wants to get to know him better? You sly one. Meanwhile, the assassin is talking to himself, saying that he's a professional. He had set up a perfect barrier, so why was this happening? Obviously, he was getting beaten up by our boy, who had activated his little life-on-the-line talent. Not to mention, he also has the sword technique he received from Elnor, so the boy isn't useless anymore. Our boy is impressed with his own skill, and the assassin is realizing that he's using the Tristan family's sword technique. He never should have messed with this kid. The villain then admits that he fell into the trap of attacking the boy, but demands to know who he is. The truth is, the deadly charm has been activated, and now the villain is impressed by the boy's skills and has become interested in him. Our boy doesn't say anything, and the man simply responds, "I'm sure someone as cool and ruthless as you will want to kill me. So go ahead, finish me off." Dodd just takes the chance to tell the guy, "I'm not going to kill you, but tell everyone to stop attacking Elnor." What he wants to prevent now is her activating that gray demon power and losing control. If he can stop her from being attacked constantly, maybe that can be avoided. But the assassin asks, "What happens if I come back later and attack again?" Dodd walks off with full swag. "If you try to kill her, you'll have to get through me first." The man asks, "Is that woman really that important?" And Dodd replies, "Yes." Right at that moment, deadly charm had activated. Our boy didn't realize. The beautiful menace was right behind him and heard everything he said. Her favorability skyrocketed. He turns around completely confused. Man, her favorability just keeps rising. At least 15 notifications have popped up. Meanwhile, in another part of the academy, the headmistress is banging her head against her desk, frustrated. Everything is a mess. She knows the chancellor is furious. But immediately locating this organization is impossible. She tells Elnor, "You need to understand, this place is a disaster right now, especially now that it's confirmed there's some kind of spy lurking around." The headmistress comments, "You seem really determined to stay here, considering that you barely arrived and they've already tried to kill you 3 times. And she needs to start being even more careful, because this incident was different. They sent a professional assassin this time, and things are only going to get worse. Besides that, she found it strange that everyone who survived this event received honors, except for God Campbell, who immediately disappeared once it was over. The headmistress has already noticed. He's actively trying not to attract attention, and she doesn't understand why." Elnor sighs. "I don't understand either. She said that 3 times already," which makes the headmistress finally snap, quit saying that, and throws something at her. Let's all thank the headmistress, because by throwing that object, she made Elnor raise her arm, and look gorgeous while doing it. Elnor apologizes. "Sorry, I was a little distracted. It's just that There's someone I'm interested in. The headmistress is instantly confused. What the hell are you talking about? Eleanor just smiles. You just said his name. The room falls completely silent. And then, the woman stares at her. You cannot be serious. You like that weird country bumpkin. She warns Eleanor she should be careful. Because if Archduke Tristan found out about something like this, he would not be happy. Eleanor waves it off. It's not like that. I don't have that kind of interest in him. The headmistress relaxes. Good. Just be careful. Normally, when it comes to men, you're more cautious. Eleanor nods. You're right. I will have to test him. For now, I'll observe him very closely. At that moment, our boy receives his class test results. Unfortunately, it says his class hasn't been decided yet. They're still calculating his results, which is a terrible sign, because it means they're thinking way too much about him, and all he wanted was to be thrown into some random class and forgotten. What he does suspect, though, is that he might end up in the special class, where the heroic protagonists are. They're delaying his placement and, in a way, excluding him, which is also weird. Then, he completes his first mission, and his information updates. His new mission: resolve the incidents that will occur during the freshman reception. He knows it's during this event that people's classes are determined. Obviously, there are the usual ones: archers, mages, priests, etc. But his focus is to exploit his strength as much as possible and get a class related to that. On the other hand, both the final boss, Eleanor, and Elia are involved in this event. He is absolutely sure that something he doesn't want is going to happen again. Then, he receives a reward for deepening his connection with Eleanor. He can copy one of her abilities. But he's not stupid. He knows this isn't the right time to use something like that, because even though she's currently the strongest in the academy, she's going to grow even stronger. And only then would it be worth using his duplication ability to steal away more powerful talent. Night falls, and he sneaks out of the academy to visit an abandoned house. Of course, he's equipped with tons of stealth items, so he can't be detected. In the game, this place was perfect for farming treasures. He jumps the wall, enters the place, and heads toward an area full of stacked up items. There are countless objects here, but one is extremely important: a sensor burner. With 1,000 years of stored power, he grabs it. Got what I needed. But right at that moment, the entire ground starts shaking. The poor guy realizes this was way too easy, and now he's getting buried alive. Strangely enough, after the smoke clears, he's holding a girl in his arms. Her name is Yuria, and the moment he sees her, he immediately recognizes her. He knows that this crazy girl is the boss of the second chapter, known as the Cursed Sword Goddess. That item he pulled out really did belong to her, but he didn't expect her to be right there. She immediately gets out of his arms, and the system warns that his life is in danger. His EX rank strength activates, and she comes at him with a chain strike. He barely dodges. As always, a very dangerous, thick-thighed girl. Our boy is trying to dodge, but at the same time, she's throwing small swords at him. He knows that against a woman like this, it's life or death. With no chance of winning, he begs her to understand that this is a misunderstanding. He wasn't trying to do anything to her while she was sleeping. Each of her attacks makes his entire body shake, even with his talent activated. She swings her chain again, he jumps, barely escaping. But then, full of style, she spins like a breakdancer and throws a dagger straight at him. Our boy freezes. The blade gets right in front of him, and suddenly, the attack disappears. 3.5 steps, that's the maximum distance she can fight from. That's the curse and mechanism behind her abilities. The girl asks him very politely to take just one step forward, but he asks, "You're gonna kill me, aren't you?" She nods, yes, and she's impressed that this bastard already seems to know her talent. Our boy gets an idea. He knows she's isolated here. Not even food is delivered to this place. So he asks, "By any chance, do you want a high recovery biscuit?" She scoffs. "I'm not falling for such a stupid trick. It's not like I'm that hungry." But the moment he tosses the biscuit, she grabs it, because she was starving all night. Sometime later, she mutters, "I realize now. That was a mistake." Our boy is relieved. Looks like he won't be dying today. She asks why he's here. He knows he can't tell the truth, so he lies, saying he was sent here to feed her, that he received instructions to take care of her from someone else. She asks, "Is it someone you know?" He nods, yes. And strangely, since he knows everything about this world, he casually adds, "Don't worry, your sister is doing just fine in the Holy Empire. The Emperor won't bother with the two of you for a while, so you don't have to keep hiding like this." Yuria is from the Holy Empire, and she's hiding here at Elephanti Academy because of the Emperor of the land she fled from. The sword she wields is considered a cursed item, which is why she has the 3-step curse. She had to escape because of it. That's why our boy is trying to pass on information that her sister is safe, because even though she's been through a lot, she deserves at least a bit of peace. We then see a group of students at the top of a mountain. Someone points out, "That's the academy over there. That's the Arcane Constitution." A little blonde girl says, "We'll have to choose our faculties soon." Dodd knows. This is the part of the game where you get the most world-building information, but he can skip all of it since he already knows everything. A guy asks Ophelia, "What's that voided area over there?" On the horizon, a dome-covered city could be seen, and she explained that it was an extremely restricted area. Anyone who entered would be punished. Dodd knew that place was what remained of the war between heaven and hell, a place where God's messengers and the heroes had sealed away the demons. This happened hundreds of thousands of years ago, yet the energies of light and darkness continued to clash. With the obvious risk of darkness eventually prevailing, the Empire Alliance created this sacred triangle to keep watch over it. The triangle consists of numerous academies, one of them being Elfent. The red-haired guy then asked Ophelia if they could take a closer look. She said that as long as they stayed within Seraph's protective barrier, there was no danger. Dodd, on the other hand, thought this was the perfect chance for them to sneak away and cause some trouble. The angels who resided beyond the heavens and mountains had created this barrier alongside Seraphis. The students were now all standing around, staring at the barrier up close with dumbfounded expressions. Dodd then asked if he could eat a little away from everyone else because he was feeling uncomfortable. She understood. He was the boy suffering from all the unwanted attention and allowed it as long as he didn't go too far. The other guys didn't like that. They muttered that this hick bastard was getting full of himself just because he had gained a bit of attention. But our boy had already lit his incense using unicorn horn powder and a phoenix feather. Where the hell did he get that? Who knows? Maybe it was already inside. But with that, he had prepared the most powerful thurible, which was basically just a fancy incense burner. Magic started activating, and he prayed that he hadn't forgotten anything. At that moment, some silhouettes appeared, and he covered his eyes. He knew this was something ordinary people would never experience. A massive explosion of light erupted before him, and he heard voices discussing the allied forces. A man was telling a recruit, "Keep the ground even. Stop digging around." Then he saw them. Angels. They looked at each other. "Why is there a human here? Man, if this angel appears, I'm gonna be happy." They kept questioning why that kid was just standing there staring at them. The commander waved it off, telling the others to get back to work. And our boy, he had just opened a tiny portal and was observing everything. Then a horn blared and a car arrived, bringing in the sacred blocks. An infinite amount of them, so the construction wouldn't stop. The blonde angel yelled at another worker, "Quit eating cloud biscuits and get back to work." Meanwhile, our boy just watched as the bald angel kept shouting at everyone. I have no idea what's happening, but what I do know is that sacred blocks are being delivered and our other angel is just watching it all unfold. Dodd knew. The angels in this place were almost like a military force. They had a strict hierarchy, where those at the top obviously held the most authority. In the original story, you could only encounter angels after Chapter 2 and only after interacting with some of the high-ranking ones. And they were very clear about what they wanted, since it was basic and straightforward. Our boy stretched out his food, muttering an irakamasu. As he ate, he overheard some of the angels talking. Why does he have so much food? One angel suggested, maybe we should ask for a piece. But another immediately shot that down. That's insane. We can't go down there just for food. We should keep moving the blocks. Dodd, on the other hand, smirked. Are you sure? Working in construction is exhausting. You guys should take a break and enjoy some food. And strangely, the moment he said fat, a mission for an offering activated, and food appeared in the angel's hands. Everyone smiled. A 10-minute break wouldn't be so bad. They thanked him, saying, "You're a very considerate human." Dodd remembered. It was the same in the game. If you offered enough food to someone, it would multiply once it reached their realm and become enough for everyone. Sometime later, the angels were sitting there, muttering, "That was delicious. Totally worth it." The bald angel notices the thurible beside him and says, "Just state what you want already." Our protagonist is impressed that the guy got straight to the point and doesn't even seem interested in negotiating. He had prepared numerous techniques to convince these guys, so he finds it strange that it's this easy. The bald angel then says he's sure the boy must be wondering why he's being treated this way. He explains, the boy is well-informed and possesses an incredible ability, but it's severely underdeveloped. The angel knows he'll benefit from investing in the boy, and that's the only reason he's helping. Now it all makes sense to Dodd. Why this guy is interested in him. What he doesn't know is which ability the angel is referring to. Maybe it's the one about being loved by evil. The angel then says, the ability you possess is far more powerful than you realize. It will allow you to stand at the top of everything. Of course, the problem is surviving with all the attention he's attracting. Given this situation, Dodd knows he'll have to think of another route. He never expected the negotiation to be this easy, or that these guys would have such high expectations for him. Another angel comments, it's rare to see someone so calm and strategic when negotiating with an angel. You really do have potential. The bald angel shrugs. I'll just give you my blessing and send you on your way. Our boy still hasn't fully processed what just happened, but the guy simply leaves, saying Dodd should already be impressed that he was acknowledged by them. With that, the portal disappears, and Dodd is left feeling uneasy. Even the angels told him to be careful with his own talent. Now the C+ rank Divine Thurible was blessed with two abilities. Asceticism, which allows him to convert all other attributes into Constitution for 20 seconds, and Protective Shield, a C-rank ability that lets him create a sword, a barrier, obviously. The combination of his status boost in life-threatening situations, with this ability to convert everything into defense, will be extremely useful for what? Survival. The only problem is that these talents require a small amount of mana, which he doesn't have. For now, they'll have to find a temporary solution, which is why he's standing in front of a man who asks, what's your specialty? He seems to be alone in front of a shop, and the man informs him, you need to be in a pair first, to which Dodd replies, my partner will be here soon. The guy doesn't believe him. A loser like you. No way you've got a partner. But our boy knows she's already on her way. And right then, Elia shows up, looking like an absolute fool, as if she hadn't intentionally come here with him. Dodd casually waves at her, already planning to team up. At first, he didn't want to get involved with the protagonist, but he's changed his mind. Especially after what the angels said about him being in serious danger because of his talent. So he asks, "Are you still interested in getting to know me better?" Just like she mentioned before. Poor Elia. She's a bit shaken, not sure how to respond. But then, she remembers everything. All the times he kept saying how much he liked Elnor, and she reaches a conclusion. This bastard is just trying to get close to her to make Elnor jealous. What a delusional fool. The scene shifts to the academy dungeons. Someone asks Dodd, "Are you sure about this?" He nods. "Yeah, I know she wanted to be my friend too. So why is she acting like this now?" Obviously, she's suspicious. Suddenly, he tells her to look in a certain direction, because 3 beasts were coming. A wolf lunges, but a single quick slash from her sword cuts it in half. He warns her, 2 more from above. And just like that, they advance through the dungeon, working as a perfect team. All he has to do is call out the direction, and she handles everything with ease, until she finally tells him to stop giving orders and start fighting too. But he completely ignores her and says there are 2 daggers coming at her from the left and right. At that exact moment, the attack happens, and she manages to block them. Then she warns about incoming arrows and a monster strike. Once again, she reacts in time and blocks them. So she tells him if he can predict everything this easily, he clearly needs to use his strength to help. The problem is, Dodd can't do anything unless his life is in danger. Since these are artificial monsters, they're not programmed to kill students, which means his talent doesn't detect any real danger. He realizes he really needs to increase his stats for situations like this. Suddenly, Elia rushes toward him. For a moment, he thinks she's about to cut him down. But instead, she slices off the head of a monster that was right behind him. He just stands there, watching her, looking effortlessly cool. Then she's smooth. Out of nowhere, confetti bursts into the air. Someone announces, "Congratulations, you broke the record." She's surprised. She fought alone and still completed it faster than the other pairs. Dodd shrugs. "Maybe we were just lucky." But the truth is, our boy obviously chose the shortest, sneakiest route. Elia is starting to get really annoyed with this bastard. A little witch had been watching them the whole time. Her name was Percy, and she was the magic instructor here. She comments, "We'll have to improve these fake battles next year. That was way too easy." A nearby director nods. "Got it, but something feels off. It's weird how much this boy knows about everything." Everyone assumes the academy's focus is on Elia, but the green-haired man, as usual, is suspicious of Dodd. Percy finds it strange. "Why did that boy catch your attention?" Clearly, Elia was the one doing everything, but the man shakes his head. She alone never would have broken that record. Anyone with combat experience can see it. She was actively fighting, but he was the key to all of it. It's obvious. He was giving perfect orders at perfect timing and making flawless decisions. Up until now, every one of his judgments has been spot on. Not only is he highly calculated, but it's like he's been through this place countless times before. He then turns to Percy. "Let's make a bet." At that moment, someone contacts both of them, saying they take an interest in the pair. The man explains. He made a bet with Percy. He's sure they'll break this year's record. If they succeed, they can ask for anything they want from her. But if they don't, it's fine, because what they've already done is impressive enough. Obviously, Dodd agrees instantly, and Percy gets pissed at how confident this kid looks. Meanwhile, the glasses-wearing director tells someone, "I know you're stressed, but you shouldn't be here all the time, because right now, Elnor is collapsed on the floor after training." She mutters, "I'm trying to remember something." She recalls some old movies her mother used to talk about when she was a child, about a demon living in the Tristan bloodline. That was what fermented the inhuman power they possessed. But of course, the price was that they would gradually lose their sanity. That's why most of the successful people in her family eventually go mad at the end of their lives. The director asks, "Why are you thinking about this?" Elnor simply responds, "It's nothing." The woman sighs. "I'll tell you something interesting. I just found out, right now Dodd Campbell is undergoing a test with the hero candidate." Man, the artist cooked with this Elnor scene. She narrows her eyes. "Who is this hero candidate?" The woman replies, "Elia Crixanax." Elnor doesn't believe it. Those two? Together, she closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and mutters, "I'm going there." Back in the dungeon, Elia is questioning Dodd. "What's your plan?" She knows he's skilled, but his confidence is getting ridiculous. Dodd knows the weak points of each of these monsters, how they function, but he can't reveal that yet, so he just smirks. "I'm sure everything will go fine, because you're here with me." The girl turned a little red but muttered that she wasn't falling for that nonsense. Then the red-haired guy suggested, "You can increase the difficulty to earn more points if you want." Dodd immediately responded, "I want the highest difficulty possible." Percy was losing her mind. "That's impossible," but he just shrugged. "It's worth a try." Obviously, Elia was not happy about this. One of the guys beside them chimed in, "Now that you started, you can't stop." Meanwhile, Percy took a sip of her tea. "Fine, But you should know, at this difficulty, you'll be in real danger. Since the voice transmission was active, Elia heard everything, and she was starting to feel nervous. But the green-haired man reassured them. Even if things get dangerous, all we need to do is rescue the students. Then he announced, the slaughter mode has been activated. Now prove your strength. Elia obviously is not very happy about this, but she just accepts it. Percy is eager to see them fail, and that friend over there is crying. I still don't know who that crazy guy is. However, things have changed for our dear protagonist as the creatures are now aggressive and can cause damage. The danger is detected. Since this boy is a complete mess, always on the brink of death, the system automatically puts him at full power. He prepares an attack with his sword, and a slash sweeps off the big pig's head. Actually, it looks more like a rhinoceros. Right away, the green-haired guy says he knew it. The boy was hiding his power. And Elia looks beautiful and troubled, wondering why Dodd always hides his strength like this. But now, our guy is fully focused, ignoring everyone and slaughtering the monsters. Percy, on the other hand, is wondering how this is even possible. Until now, he seemed like a complete weakling. However, the green-haired guy tells her that she needs to understand. The boy enjoys pretending to be weak. But he gets her reaction since he had the same one when he first saw this happen. And she can be sure that the stronger the monsters get, the stronger he will become too. Ilia is there, landing some impressive kicks. This girl is seriously powerful. And now our boy is in full Giga Chad mode in midair, wrecking everything. I wasn't going to mention that she's fighting again, since the artist gave her some extra attention. There she is, holding her ground, a truly reliable girl. Ma'am, but she's up against a giant ant. She calls out to our boy, who jumps into the air, shining like a star. He even uses a sword technique from the Tristans called Lavoop. A flurry of attacks strikes the giant ant, making it look like it's breaking apart. And with that, our dynamic duo, who could honestly make a great couple, manages to break the record. Just as he killed the giant ant, she was on its back, about to crush him. The boy realized he got distracted, but right then, the thing exploded. It was the green-haired guy who praised our hero, saying they're incredible for breaking a record like this. Finally, I learned the guy's name because Elia called him Professor Conrad. Conrad thanks her for her efforts, and just as Percy shows up, he immediately says that it looks like he won the bet. Sometime later, Elia is holding a piece of paper. Because of their performance, they can pick an item from the Vision's storage, and of course, they can ask Percy for any favor, thanks to the dumb bet. She's all happy, and our boy knows this isn't something just anyone who enters the school can get. At that moment, Elia calls out to him and asks how he always stays so calm. She's noticing that every time a difficult situation happens, he always acts as if he already knew. Well, yeah, that's kind of obvious, because the bastard really does know. Before he can answer, she reaches out her hand, saying that maybe now they can become closer friends. Our boy, however, doesn't seem very excited about that. Come on, man, get more hyped for the wafus. But even so, he lightly taps her hand, and you can see on the screen that her curiosity is already at level 5. She was almost reaching the trust level, standing firm. Then she runs off, saying she's excited to see tomorrow's Dodd. Someone next to our boy comments that they're not sure if she's friendly or just weird, and he agrees. This person was our dear one, drawn with great talent and attention. Thank you. And at that moment, she asks if he likes that freshman. Our boy is all flustered, stuck in that awkward space of not knowing what to say as always. At least since the desperate survival skill wasn't activating, he felt somewhat safe. He just finds the question strange. After all, he is her boyfriend or something like that. And as always, beautifully drawn, my god, I never get tired of saying this. She tells him she won't repeat herself again. Alright then, he better just say whether he likes the freshman or not. At that moment, danger is detected. Now his life is on the line. Man, he really does need to say something. Hey guys, the artist is at it again. Damn you, you're really dragging this out, aren't you? There she is, looking stunning, waiting for an answer, while this fool doesn't know what to say. Being the dumb idiot that he is, he gathers his strength and says he was training with Elia, but he missed Elnor. She looks a little confused, saying that's kind of sudden. He has no idea if this will work, but there's no way he can beat her in a fight, so his only option is to appease her. Elnor smiles and asks if he means that he missed her the whole time. He just nods, and now she wants to know why. Oh boy, you're going to have to explain yourself better than that. Our girl looks a bit awkward, unsure of what to say, and she fixes her hair, saying it's fine, he can just forget about it. She's sure he's acting this way because of that day on the train, but she tells him not to forget the list of priorities. Just like us, Dodd is completely confused, having no idea what this crazy girl is talking about. Then she hands him a letter, saying she came all the way here just to give it to him. This fool is wondering if it's a love letter. I highly doubt it. And looking a bit shy, she says she was going to give it to him tomorrow, but decided to bring it now. Then she turns around looking gorgeous as ever, and tells him to only read it when he's alone. I doubt it's a love letter, probably a death threat. And there he is, holding it in his hands, saying he understands. Next scene, he's already saying he shouldn't have opened it. The expected unexpected happened. She asked him to pretend to be a couple. I don't know what her intentions are, whether she wants to protect him or if there's something more, but I'm not sure she's actually that in love with our dear Dodd. For our boy though, that's not even the biggest problem. All he has to do is spend some time by her side at the welcome party. The problem is the penalty if he rejects the offer. Not only will it change how she acts towards him, but it will also probably affect that affection level she has, making it harder for him to gain new skills. Then someone knocks on the door. He opens it, sure that it's Elia, who immediately comments that he's getting smarter. Damn, what is this? The other one brought a letter too? This bastard. I want to trade lives with him. Without thinking, he blurts out another letter like this, which makes her ask what he means by another. Had he already received one before? He quickly says no, that he got confused, and asks what it is. She tells him to think of it as a surprise, something she decided to do after spending time with him. She has to run now because of some weird rules from the president, but she tells him to read it carefully. Before he can say anything, she's already jumping away, reminding him not to forget. Our boy already knows exactly what this is, and so do we. Looks like at this welcome party, all the girls want the boy. He opens the letter, hoping it's different. Maybe a dual invitation from Elia. The problem is that she mentioned it was a surprise. And obviously, it's also an invitation to get closer. The battle between the final boss and the story's protagonist started sooner than he expected. The issue is that something like this never happens in the main story, so why is he getting these weird choices? If he chooses Elnor, he'll be seen as a villain by the main character. But if he chooses Elia, he'll start being hated by Elnor, who might end up turning into a demon and killing everything too. There's the option to reject both, which might be safer, but that's also risky. This probably happened because they're still in the interested phase. But still, this is a problem. How is he going to get out of this? That's when he has a bold idea. Why not accept both? Looks like the scene has already shifted to the welcome party. Everyone is wondering where the classy people are, and someone says they've arrived. In the middle of the extremely luxurious hall, there's our dear Elia. She comments that this place is so crowded it looks like a pigsty. She looks at our boy and thanks him for coming with her. Oh my god, what the hell is this dashi hairstyle? It looks awful. The two of them are walking side by side, and the sneaky bastard is actually using a clone ability that cost him 1,000 points. Obviously, it's just a simple walking clone, and guess what it does? It walks and talks. There's not much else it can do. He spent everything he had, but maybe it will work. The system comments that the boy is daring for trying to go on dates with both at the same time. To succeed, all he has to do is not get caught before the party ends. All he needs to avoid is anyone seeing him and his clone in the same place at the same time. As he's considering his options, suddenly, a bear in the nearby cage lets out a roar. The caravan passed through, ordering everyone to get out of the way. That sneaky dice knows these guys are planning to put on an event with that beast, which will eventually break free and cause chaos. All he has to do is take advantage of the situation to escape, remove the clone, and stay out of trouble. Besides, he bought a skill called Pheromone, or maybe not. Actually, that might just be the name of one of his clones. However, according to the system, he is no longer just a boy, which he has no idea what that means. Oh boy, smoke just started coming out of him. And right at that moment, Elmore appears, saying she finally found him. She mentions she smells something strange and asks if he used some kind of spray. He says no, explaining that he passed through some flowers, and the scent must have stuck to him. But damn, this girl is bold. She straight up says that whatever it is, it's driving her crazy. Now our boy is desperately trying to get rid of this damn pheromone smell before things get complicated. However, the system immediately notifies him that the pheromone effect has been applied to the target, Elmore. And now, she's struggling to resist getting interested in him. Suddenly, she turns to him and says it's strange that she never noticed before. He's a lot more masculine than she imagined. The boy is internally combusting. He quickly starts walking away, saying they should hurry to the event since there are a lot of people there. All he's thinking about is keeping himself and the clone talking while he remains alone with Elmore. But the poor girl is there, breathing heavily, trying to calm herself down. He just hopes she doesn't do anything crazy. He asks if she wants to grab something to eat, and she says yes. Why not? Even if it means buying some wild boars on a stick. He figures this is the worst option since he's trying to make Elmore like him a little less. She's a woman who cares a lot about her appearance, so something greasy like that should be a total turnoff. However, when this girl wants something, nothing stops her. She excitedly declares that she loves those things. So much for his theory. Guess he's still figuring out her tastes. Trying to play it off and kill the friendly vibe, he pretends that the food tastes awful. But all she wants to know is why he's still eating it, if he has better things to do. Now the boy is starting to be genuinely afraid of this woman and just wants to keep his distance. At the very least, he needs to maintain some space between Elnor and Elia, or things will get complicated. He stops at an accessory stall and she asks if he wants anything. He says no, but offers to buy her something if she wants. At the same time, he realizes that he really shouldn't have said that. It's just going to increase her affection level and make things even messier. Oh, this guy is a reverse mastermind and somehow picks the worst possible gift, a loose uniform button, asking if she wants it. But once again, there's no stopping this girl. She's genuinely impressed that he was paying so much attention to her that he even noticed she had lost a button from her uniform. The poor guy just wants to disappear while she gives him that mischievous little smile. Sometime later, at a table, she asks if he's already decided what he wants to study. He says yes, he's going to focus on theology. That's the study of God's nature, that kind of thing, you know. But Eleanor tells him he should reconsider. With his talent, it would be a waste not to become a knight. However, our boy simply replies that there's something he needs to learn in the theology department. He chose this path for a specific reason. Eleanor, towering over the table, demands to know what it is he wants to learn, and he just says that to protect the people he cares about, there are certain things he needs to acquire. Eleanor wants to know what exactly it is that he's trying so hard to protect. Oh man, our boy is low-key romantic. What he really wants to protect is his own life and prevent Eleanor from turning into a demon. Stickard abilities would be perfect for his survival and would also allow him to take care of her in the process. Smart move. So he tells her that since childhood, there has been someone he wants to protect. Besides, he obviously knows that later in the story, there's going to be an event called the Secret Society. The boss of that chapter is only weak against holy magic, which is why he needs to prepare. Suddenly, the gorgeous Eleanor asks if that's the real reason he's getting so involved with her, because she knows all too well about the Tristan family curse, just like he does. Our boy confirms that he is in fact talking about the curse that drives every member of her family insane, and he's certain that the only way to prevent it is through mental training. Eleanor's expression turns serious as she asks if he knows the solution. He cuts her off and says he knows about the blessing of the angels. It's a type of miracle where two archangels must bestow their blessing on the same person. Eleanor acknowledges that it exists, but it's so difficult to achieve that even with all the power the Tristans hold, they've never been able to obtain it. That's why they're so feared. Once again, she demands to know his intentions. Why does he keep getting closer to her knowing all of this? This boy is basically confessing at this point. I thought he wanted to keep his distance, but he tells her that the thing he wants to protect is her. Looking both beautiful and concerned, she asks why. And our boy simply says that if he doesn't protect her, she's going to die. That's the truth, and he has no other reason beyond that. She looks a little flustered, fixing her hair, and says that from the very beginning she knew he was a weird guy. Our boy just responds that he's heard that about himself countless times. With that, he's told her the whole truth. Now he just hopes it's enough to satisfy her strange curiosity. The scene then shifts to another part of the party, with Elia saying that this boy is weird. The poor girl is walking alongside the clone, wondering why he's talking so little today. She also asks how they even ended up in this basement. Meanwhile, she looks back, thinking that she needs to get closer to this guy to learn more about the Tristan family. The problem is, she has no idea how to handle a man like him. In general, the truth is, she's not very good at dealing with men, and it's making her go a little crazy. She doesn't know how to act. On top of that, she starts wondering why this place is full of caged monsters. She's practically having a monologue here since the clone isn't saying much. She comments that they're probably Academy experiment creatures, but it's irresponsible of the professors to leave so many of them here with students around. She turns to the side and wonders why there are even monsters this big in a place like this. She approaches one of the cages and realizes that these beasts aren't even properly locked up. That's when she notices a device beeping right next to the creature. Before she can react, the place explodes. Luckily, Chad Clone saves her. This bastard is flirting with one girl at a table while rescuing another from an explosion. Obviously, both our favorite couple and everyone in the hall are in shock. And my god, our boy's back is burnt to a crisp, but he saved the girl, and now his favorability is skyrocketing. Barely holding himself together, he just mutters that this is his job. She's startled as he collapses beside her. Before she can even think about helping him, the monster is already loose. And of course, they're all high-level creatures. Elia thanks him for protecting her and says it's now her turn to return the favor. Right then, the system activates a mission. He has to save as many people as possible. Without hesitation, he takes off running, leaving Eleanor behind, telling her he has things to take care of and that she should be careful. She asks where he's going, but he just shouts back that he's going to protect the students. Meanwhile, Elia is exhausted, barely able to stand. Our boy dispels the clone and arrives in style, declaring that they'll have to deal with this. But then he notices that she's already on the ground, everything around her wrecked. At least she's happy to see he's alive. And at that moment, her status shifts from curious to interested. The main scenario had now been altered. However, she reveals that one of the creatures has escaped, and of course, it's the biggest one. She warns that it's probably somewhere on the first floor, and they need to stop it before more people die. Our protagonist knows that if he doesn't handle this, he'll receive a major penalty. Right now, the other students are panicking. Face to face with the giant beast, its eyes glowing red. One student raises a barrier but knows it won't hold and desperately calls for a professor. With the monster's attack, the entire thing is already cracking. Eleanor announces that neither the Chancellor nor Professor Conrad are here. And on top of that, she can't use the angel's blessing. She orders the priest to raise a barrier, but he says it's impossible. A sacred barrier isn't something just anyone can create so easily. Besides, all they have to do is wait a little longer. Some knights will arrive soon. If a few students die in the meantime, so be it. If she wants to use the Tristan family's strength, though, he knows they're not good people. Man, why criticize my poor Eleanor like that? At least our boy arrives full swag mode, declaring that he'll handle it. Everyone is wondering who this crazy guy running toward the beast is. Eleanor is stunned by his courage. He's not hesitating at all. At that moment, he activates two of the abilities he received from the angel, both asceticism and holy shield. At the same time, danger is detected and he's thrown into a life or death situation. All his stats are immediately boosted to rank X. The barrier guy asks what the hell he's doing. Our boy says he's buying time, but they need to get the other students out. With asceticism active, all his stats convert into defense. The poor guy won't be dealing any damage, but he raises a holy barrier just in time to block the monster's strike. The professors around immediately recognize it as a sacred blessing, and the beast keeps hammering away while our boy stands firm in full defense mode. Eleanor is just standing there frozen, unable to act, probably falling for him even more. Strangely, some guy in the back is rambling that even real priests need years of training to use something like this. Bro, he's literally using it right now. Maybe take some notes. And then weirdly enough, Elmore says that after everything that's happened with this guy, she's not even surprised anymore. Watching him get attacked, she realizes he has already surpassed her expectations so many times. Now the clueless priest finally notices that our boy didn't just raise any barrier. He put up one strong enough to hold back that beast. Suddenly, someone tells the guy to shut up. It's Elia, who smacks him on the back of the head, saying he took too long to figure it out. Eleanor asks where she's been, and Elia explains that she was dealing with the monsters in the basement. Unfortunately, she let this one escape because it was too strong. But now, she wants to know how the hell Dodd is using a blessing like that. As far as she knows, activating something like this requires 10 years of training to become a combat priest. This whole takes 10 years of training thing catches Eleanor's attention, and she remembers that our boy had said he had something important to learn in the theology department. The sweet words of the boy who said that if he didn't protect her, she would die. You can tell she's getting more attached because now her eyes are rounder, not as sharp and intense as before. Ilya comments that even if he's using a stored blessing, there's a limit to how much control he can exert over it. And she mentions that Eleanor is really lucky. Our Lady wants to know what this crazy girl is talking about, and out of nowhere, the artist throws in a beautiful panel. Ilya explains that she's talking about the fact that Dodd is doing all of this for her. Just looking at the boy's pained expression and the way he threw himself into the fight on purpose against that creature, everything he's done so far seems to be for that reason. Eleanor thinks that she's had this feeling from the very beginning. She sees herself standing alone in the darkness, arms crossed, when suddenly, a light approaches. I don't know what that light is supposed to be, but I do know she looks gorgeous as she wipes off her sword, thinking that this boy really is different. The beast keeps pounding at the barrier, and these professors, these useless bystanders, do absolutely nothing. Until finally, Eleanor steps in and delivers a solid strike to the monster's head. Not to praise myself, but damn, she's standing there crying in the rain. Poor girl. But, well, she still looks stunning. And in the fight, she lands a clean hit on the back of the creature's head, sending a burst of sparks flying. Man, the impact sends the beast crashing straight into the wall. Dodd looks completely dumbfounded, and right away, the monster gets back up and lunges at Eleanor again. Watching her prepare, he knows this is the true sword technique of the Tristans. The girl unleashes a flurry of thrusts so fast it looks like a machine gun firing straight into the beast's chest. Still looking elegant and composed, she keeps the relentless assault going while the monster rides in agony. Until finally, her sword nears its neck, and she delivers a tramontana. The monster is flung away once again. There's no way it's still alive this time. Our boy notices that the power she wields is completely different from the one he copied. Something else is off. She wasn't even supposed to be involved in this event. The original story didn't unfold like this. With that, the official mission is completed, and since no one died, it was a perfect success. The system even notifies him that knights will arrive in 30 seconds. The truth is, all the professors who enjoy experimenting with live monsters are also supporters of the Tristans. And the fact that Eleanor got involved makes it clear that, in a way, her family is responsible for this. Normally, she's not someone who gets involved in politics, so why did she decide to step in now? Meanwhile, the students are all running away in panic, fire, and chaos everywhere, while the stunning Eleanor just stands there staring at him. Hey, you good? How are you doing? She lets out a deep sigh and says, finally, it's over. But then from within the flames, the grotesquely deformed monster rises again. Dodd shouts at her to watch her back, and as she turns, our boy teleports right in to shield her. Damn, the beast is barely more than a skeleton now, but it still manages to grab him. Looks like the kid was already exhausted after blocking that attack, his eyes shut. Sometime later, he wakes up in bed, immediately asking about the monsters. A woman with a monocle tells him to calm down. The creature was killed and Eleanor is fine. That woman is Chancellor Adelant. She closes her book and asks if he's surprised that she came to visit him. Then she explains that she was just waiting for the perfect moment since she hadn't had the opportunity to meet him properly after the freshman duel. Our protagonist knows that this woman is an immortal who has lived for thousands of years. So what is she doing here? He's already nervous that she might bring up the angel's blessing, but she tells him she's here to deliver some bad news, and some even worse news. He asks for the bad news first, saving the worst for later. She then tells him that he's getting more attention than any other student she's ever seen. It seems like every major incident always has him right in the middle of it, and that's why, with her experience, she knows things are only going to get worse for him. The other news is that she now wants to know how much he understands about the future of the demon. It seems like our boy doesn't react much, and she just remarks how interesting it is that he shows no emotion when she brings it up. Dodd then says that he's not going to reveal how much he knows until he understands what her intentions are. She asks what he's talking about, and he brings up the fact that he still hasn't been placed into any class. but she just steps closer, saying she knows he must be frustrated with the situation. However, thanks to all the chaos he's been causing, she's been forced to manage the results carefully. He should know that things are pretty unstable in society right now. The three forces that control everything aren't as calm as they used to be, and all sides are doing whatever they can to recruit powerful individuals. Dodd comments that he's aware of the competition happening between the three factions. That would be the three forces in that whole triangle setup, the academy surrounding that thing in the middle, built for the whole war between heaven and hell. And obviously, these three factions are clashing because each one wants to be the strongest. Adelant confirms that he's right, the triangle is unstable. Even though some might say they are peaceful neighbors at the moment, beneath that facade of peace, there's an incredibly ruthless competition to determine who will rise to the top. Of course, most students aren't interested in or even aware of any of this. But this very competition is what keeps causing all these incidents and disruptions across the three territories. Dodd remarks that he's certain all the chaos that's happened so far must have drawn even more attention. If they haven't done anything, it means someone is blocking the information from leaving this place. Adeline is impressed that he already knows all of this. And our boy understands. She's afraid someone might try to kidnap him and use him in one of these other empires. He asks if that's her concern, and she confirms it. After all, if he gets captured, it's the end of this world. Strangely, he suddenly sees a vision, an illusion of everything being destroyed. She then holds up a sheet of paper, asking if he recognizes the seal on it. Dodd knows this one. It's the seal of the Purifiers. Adeline is even more shocked. This guy already knows everything. The Purifiers are a secretive organization that worships demons and operates from the shadows. Their only goal is to bring these demons back from hell and destroy the world. Both the attempt to assassinate Elnor and the chaos caused at the academy where they're doing. And right now, they seem to be actively trying to eliminate the Tristan family. And of course, there's no guarantee they won't try again. Dodd wants to know why she's telling him all this. But Adeline simply replies that, unfortunately, she can't explain that. However, she hands him something. An interdimensional key, an extremely broken item that can open doors between worlds. She merely states that, judging by his expression, he must already know what it's for. She promises to monitor his progress closely. If she likes what he brings her, she might even give him more gifts. However, she warns that obviously, this conversation must remain secret. And finally, before leaving, she asks about his relationship with the warrior candidate and the lady of the Tristan family. Our boy freezes for a second. How the hell does this woman know everything? But he just says they're doing fine. Adeline smiles and tells him to keep it that way. Now he's worried. Why is that important? And once again, she tells him that if things don't stay the same, the world will end. Our boy wonders why the world is destined to end no matter what. But Adeline just tells him that it's his fault for being involved in all of this. She can't say why, but the final plan relies on those three for it to succeed. A while later, she leaves and he just stares at the dimensional key, thinking about whether he should accept the end of the world. In theory, it should be impossible for a player to receive this key so early in the game. Something's off. That's when Conrad appears, saying he finally found him. He's been eager to have a conversation. Our boy quickly hides the key and asks why. The professor explains that even though he hasn't been placed into a specific class, he still has to attend lessons. He pulls out a letter and tells him that inside are his assigned duties starting tomorrow. The moment he glances at the names, his expression changes. Obviously, he'll be close to Elnor, and also near our dear Elia. The only thing on his mind is that the end of the world is coming. Sometime later in a training hall, someone says that's why the sword is considered the best weapon for most situations. The professor is going on and on about sword theory, until someone interrupts him. It's Elnor, asking if he's not focusing too much on theory. She doesn't think this kind of information is actually useful in battle. Obviously, the professor just stands there, dumbfounded, completely shut down by his own student. The poor guy drew a sword in the air and just stood there like a fool. And the students all start saying that nowadays you could just take an arrow to the head or get hit by a magic explosion and die like an idiot. Until Elia chimes in, saying that she still thinks the professor is right. As long as the swordsman is skilled, they can dodge magic or block an arrow strike. Elnor disagrees, saying that if the terrain disadvantage is too great, the swordsman has no chance. The two of them start arguing while our boy is caught in the middle, terrified of where this is going. And just like that, they're already headbutting each other. Elia tells her not to interfere with the professor's lesson, and Eleanor fires back, saying that as student council president, she has to make sure students receive proper information. They keep bickering about theory versus practice while our boy is just sitting there, wondering if they could just continue the lesson. Now it's clear, this boy is smack in the middle of both of them. And the worst part, because of that, everyone in the class is staring at him. But that's inevitable, considering he's seated between the future warrior and the student council president. At this moment, Elnor's affection level had advanced to level 1, allowing him to claim a reward. Now his proficiency with Tristan's sword techniques had increased to 58%. He also learned a deep breathing technique from the Demon Slayer, which boosts his body's endurance. He finds it interesting since it's perfect for combat, while Elia is just watching him intently. Or maybe not him, she's staring at Elnor, who's acting all nonchalant. As the two continue bickering, our boy is just thinking. Now it makes sense why this woman becomes so powerful when she turns into a demon. Besides, Elia had just advanced from curiosity level 5 to interest level 1, allowing him to claim another reward. He receives the ability Rule of Evil. This activates when he influences good-natured individuals, and those individuals are then forced to accept one request from him. The system also warns that you should keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. A higher level of closeness with good people gave even better rewards since it was more difficult. And if you managed to turn good people into bad ones, the rewards were even greater. Our boy is confused. Why does the system seem to want him to turn everyone into bad people? Sometime later, deep in a forest, it was time for survival training. Cameron explains that the test is simple. They have to enter the forest and bring back something they think he will like. For that, they have a maximum of 10 minutes. Someone asks how they'll earn points for this, but Conrad simply tells them that's for them to decide. The class president will help him judge the items and he wishes them good luck. Obviously, everyone thinks this is way too vague, while Elia is fuming about having to be judged by her. Staring at his system, our boy is wondering how exactly he's supposed to turn good people bad. That's when Elia, looking as stunning as ever, asks if Dodd wants to work with her today. He tells her she should focus on her own friends, but she insists that he is a friend. But what our boy is really thinking is that this crazy girl needs to stick with the protagonist group, the ones who are supposed to defeat the future demon. Those very protagonists are just staring at him. Elia invites him to join the group, but he declines. He knows he'll just end up as another nobody in their ranks. She's looking all sweet, wanting to know what's wrong, and he just says that it's nothing. They're just not that close. That completely catches her off guard, and she looks a little shaken. Turning away, she says that's a shame, but okay. Even the nun overhears it and looks devastated. Our boy is afraid he might have been too harsh, but he can't afford to get too close to her. That's when someone approaches, calling out to Dodd Campbell. A blonde guy with his hand on his chin wants to know what his relationship is with the hero candidate. Our boy knows this guy. It's Talion Armand, the second most skilled fighter, right after Elia. And as always, with a clueless expression, he replies that they only just met, nothing more. But Talion immediately responds that someone as talented as Elia shouldn't have any association with him. At that moment, Rule of Evil activates. The system notifies him that a good individual has been enraged because of his influence. Talion keeps bringing up the duel results, calling Dodd weird. But our boy is actually pleased. He's finally starting to understand how turning good people bad works. Talion keeps pressing him, demanding that he admit the duel was a fraud. And knowing that this guy will become a mid-boss in the future, our protagonist is certain that he's the perfect target for this ability. So he steps closer and tells him that the duel wasn't fake. But apparently, Talion just can't accept the result. Probably seeing his goal crushed in a single attack made him realize the gap between them. He says all of this, and Elia, who was nearby, hears everything. Clearly irritated, Talion grits his teeth and proposes a bet. They should see who gets a better score on today's test. Dodd thinks to himself, this is perfect. Meanwhile, someone is calling for Elnor. It's Conrad, reminding her that he asked for her help with grading the test, but she doesn't seem to be taking it seriously. That's because Dodd Campbell hasn't even completed the test yet, but he already has the highest score. She simply responds that it's because the boy deserves it. Then she says that if he doesn't trust her judgment, she'll just have to stick by him closely to make sure he really is deserving. But Conrad places a hand on her shoulder, warning her that he's already noticed. She always wants to be near him. Eleanor quickly denies it, saying that's not the case. The only thing she doesn't want is for him to be alone with Elia. She asks Conrad for permission to follow Dodd, but he warns her that if she doesn't take this seriously, she'll be removed from the event. Meanwhile, the priestess is clutching her rosary, thinking that today Elia is acting differently. In a breathtaking display, Elia is kicking monsters left and right. The red-haired axe wielder asks where they can find stronger creatures. The blonde guy suggests they should use this opportunity to collect some gems instead. They don't want to get a bad score. And the mage agrees, saying that for now, that's the best course of action. But suddenly, a strange purple circle starts forming in the middle of Elia's chest. Her expression begins to change as she slaughters the monsters. The priestess seems to be able to perceive emotions. Even though it doesn't seem like it, she knows at that moment Elia is feeling angry. So she walks over to her friend and asks how she's been feeling lately. Elia turns to her with a forced smile, saying she's fine. Nothing's wrong. The priestess tries to insist, saying that if anything is bothering her, she should just say so. But Elia turns away, telling her to forget about it. She already said everything's fine. Still, the priestess persists, saying that if something's wrong, she should just talk. She knows something is bothering her. Elia sighs, sits down under a tree, takes a deep breath, and admits, looks like it's obvious. I guess you really can't lie to Trisha. Ilia's friend sits down and comments that it seems like she's upset that Dodd Campbell keeps trying to keep his distance, even though she just wants to be his friend. Ilia admits that's the case and finds it strange because she and Dodd have been through so much together recently. Even so, he still seems to want to keep a barrier between them. Trisha comments that maybe those aren't his true intentions. Ilia immediately wants to know what she means. Trisha explains that Dodd comes from a small, unknown place. Seeing him as someone connected to a hero candidate might cause a lot of people to judge him. Ilya asks if she's suggesting that everything Dodd is doing is because he wants what's best for her. Her friend says yes, she's sure that he's only keeping his distance to improve his reputation and earn the right to stand by her side. She's certain that he sees her as a great friend. Our boy really can't lose a woman. Even when he does, people make sure to hand her back. At that moment, the lucky bastard is sprinting through the forest. The problem is that the talent he stole earlier is already reaching its limit and his stamina is running out. The system tells him that he's influencing someone and earning even more points. That's because Talion is desperately chasing him, and now our boy has received another command because of the sheer hatred he's provoking. The guy even shouts that he's going to kill him and put him on a skewer. Dodd nearly takes a spear to the back as Talion unleashes a flurry of thrusts, yelling at him to stop running like a coward and fight like a real man. Dodd just asks the guy to hold on for a second. The moment Talion pauses, he asks why they don't just split the rewards 50-50. But the second Talion screams in rage, our boy blows up a tree and dashes away. However, Talion has the blood of a warrior. He readies his spear and hurls it straight at our protagonist. But midway through, a sword intercepts it, cutting the spear clean in half. Both of them freeze in shock as Ilya arrives, exuding pure swagger. She immediately orders Talion to get his hands off her friend. Now the protagonist's luck has run out. She repeats herself and Talion, so confused, asks what's going on with Ilya. This is the first time they've seen each other since the day the monster escaped. But as she advances, placing her sword against his neck, she corrects him. This is the first time they've seen each other since the day he lost her. Dodd is just wondering where the hell this crazy girl came from and why she's so fired up. The clueless Talion, still smirking, says that he really did miss her. It's good to see her again. But Ilya only wants to know why he was attacking Dodd. The fool tries to lie, but she just sweeps his legs, sending him crashing to the ground like a sack of trash. Then she puts the sword back to his throat, saying she doesn't want to hear any excuses. Talion, still confused, demands to know why she's defending him when she's so skilled. But the girl simply replies that he has no right to interfere with the people she chooses to associate with. Talion sneers, saying he doesn't like people who think they're better than others. A bit ironic, isn't it, you hypocrite? Ilya responds that she's certain Dodd would never act that way. Our boy is standing there, completely lost. Why is she so determined to protect him? And then Ilya warns that if he keeps provoking Dodd, his life might be in danger. Talion realizes that if he had taken that punch earlier, he would have definitely died. So seeing that Dodd wasn't a fraud after all, he falls to his knees and apologizes, swearing that he won't approach him again without permission. Ilya sheathes her sword and says they can get along just fine. She walks off, leaving our protagonist still trying to process what the hell just happened. He can't quite figure out why she reacted that way, but maybe they're still friends after all. But enough of all this, he needed to go get his score. As he's heading back, he runs into Trisha, who tells him that they've met before. He comments that she's one of Ilya's friends and says he remembers her. The girl says she has something to ask him and he already knows this means trouble. Looking a bit awkward, stumbling over her words, she tries to say something. But our boy just waves her off, saying he has to get his score first. However, Trisha is finding Ilya's behavior strange. Normally, she would have tried to talk things out with Talion, but this time she drew her sword to settle it immediately. At that moment, Trisha realizes Dodd is a problem, and our dear protagonist has a problem. When he arrives to talk to Conrad, a huge fight had already broken out. Apparently, the professor had to work really hard to keep the student council president from coming after our boy. She insisted she would do it no matter what, so Conrad told her she could, if she defeated him first. And that's how she ended up on the ground looking exhausted. He tells her to get up already, commenting that she's been improving a lot. At this rate, she'll surpass him soon. Dodd, completely uninterested, just says he's here to get his score and leave. Conrad, having almost forgotten about the test, asks what he brought. Our boy apologizes for taking so long, but says he found the best possible ingredients. He reveals a bag full of rare gems, and the professor compliments him, saying he placed first. Percy would definitely love all of this. Now that he had finished his mission, he figured he should go talk to Elnor, since she was getting angry. But before he could, Trisha appeared, asking if he was done. The professor leaves, and Trisha suddenly yells at him, telling him to take care of Ilya, but at the same time, not to get too close. Because apparently, every time Ilya is around a guy, she starts acting strangely. Obviously, that didn't make any sense at all, so he just responds, "All right." Waving goodbye, he tells her not to worry, he'll do his best. Trisha stays behind, thinking that he better really act that way if he wants to get out of this in one piece. She heals Elnor while pondering something she already knows well. Ilya might seem calm, but it's best not to push her past the line. Sometime later at the magic department, Percy asks if he's finally planning to use the favor he received. He says yes. He's here to ask something of the goddess of magic. Percy just tells him to quit bothering her and warns that she can't do anything too complicated these days. He replies that it's not like she's the only one who will have to work to make this happen. But she fires back, saying that no one would have to do anything if he just didn't use that cursed favor. Our boy notices that everyone in the room is staring at him, but unfortunately, he needs to prepare for the fight ahead. She sighs, saying that because of the promise, she'll do it anyway. So what does he want? He gulps. One of the rewards he received from Ilya, worth 500 points, was an evil seed. that could be exchanged for special abilities in the shop. Right now, he has a negative mark on Elia, which means he can use Rule of Evil, forcing her to do whatever he wants. The same goes for Talion since he has one too. These abilities, along with everything he's been collecting, would be perfect to help in the upcoming fight. The problem is that right now he's still too weak to overcome the challenge ahead. But he knows one way to fix that. So he says he needs a cannon strong enough to blow up the entire academy. Obviously, Percy just asks if he's lost his mind. He repeats himself and she just stares at him like he's insane. She says that building something like that isn't actually that difficult. The problem is, how exactly does he plan to use it? But he cuts her off, stating that the contract states she has to grant any wish considered ordinary. A cannon is not something unusual, so she has to make it. Percy retorts that creating a weapon that can destroy the entire academy is anything but ordinary. But our boy insists he's not going to use it to hurt anyone. There's just something that needs to be handled before it gets out of control. Obviously, she responds that this is even more concerning. But she sighs and agrees, saying she trusts that he has his reasons. Since he's been helping out with the monster situation, she'll show some faith in him and build the cannon he's asking for. Then, almost to herself, she mutters that she still can't believe the Chancellor is putting so much trust in this guy. A guy who's basically already formed a harem. She's even starting to think he's actually going to save the world. He asks what the hell she means by harem, and she freezes, realizing she said it instead of thinking it. She stands there looking awkward and flustered. While he tells her to calm down, he has one more request. She asks what it is, and that's when he remembers. He can choose one item from the Vision's storage. That was the reward for breaking the record. Sometime later, walking through the corridor. Now that he has permission for the cannon, he needs the exact materials. Thanks to the interdimensional card, that might not be too difficult. Suddenly, a man holding a cane calls out to him. He asks what it is. Wait a minute. That guy, doesn't he look exactly like the one from that bloodstained photo? Yeah, this bastard is definitely the next villain. The man smiles, saying he never imagined he'd run into him here. What a coincidence. He introduces himself as Galder Riverback. He operates a charity center known as the House of Purification. Dodd, however, finds this to be a very unfunny joke, because he knows it's just a front for money laundering. This bastard is the boss of this chapter, known as the leader of Blazing Fire. The guy comments that he's heard quite a bit about Dodd. The person who has been slaying monsters always seems to be close to Elnor. That's not something an ordinary person with normal abilities could do. A truly impressive young man. He hands Dodd a card, saying that whenever he meets an extraordinary student like this, he always looks forward to seeing what their future holds. He'd love to have dinner with the boy and asks if he's free. Hell no, old man. Plenty of women are already lining up to offer him dinner. But our boy is ruthless. He just says that this conversation is already more than enough. Once again, Dodd realizes that the original story is changing. This guy was supposed to approach Elia and her brother. So why is he trying to get close to him? Has the system recognized him as the protagonist? That wouldn't make any sense, considering how the story of this world is supposed to go. So he just tells the guy he's joking. They'll think about the dinner. With that, the man leaves, saying that in 3 days they'll meet at the Twilight Eye. Dodd realizes that he has no choice now, but this is still better than letting this guy get close to Elia. The Twilight Eye is an extremely luxurious restaurant near the academy. The card Galder handed him glows like crazy. He has no choice but to go. After all, this is a main story event. And as always, since the beginning, it's just yes or no. And when it comes to the main story, the answer is always yes. Because if he deviates from the main story, he dies. He starts thinking about everyone he's met so far, and the situations he's already been through, trying to find the best way out and figure out how to handle this. After analyzing everything, he knows that defeating the Purifier might not be impossible. What he doesn't understand is why he's the one playing Elia's role. He decides to forget about all of that for now and just focus on what needs to be done at this moment. With that, he knocks on someone's door. He asks if she's there. She who? Elmore in her room. For the first time, this troublemaker isn't wearing her uniform. She asks what Dodd is doing there, and he quickly reassures her. She doesn't even need to come out. He just has something to discuss. She tells him to go ahead, and our boy, looking all awkward, clears his throat and hesitantly asks, would she be free in 3 days to have dinner with him? While she's thinking about it, a glasses-wearing girl behind her starts nagging about returning her books. She keeps borrowing them, but they just gather dust. The girl keeps complaining until Elmore finally tells her to be quiet. Right after Dodd asks, Elmore wants to know, would it be just the two of them? He says yes. Lying bastard. She asks where, and obviously he invites her to the Twilight Eye. Immediately, the director comments that that's a romantic dinner spot, and Elmore just says that she already knows. Now she wants to know why he's inviting her. He tells her he'll explain when they meet. And just like that, she's all flustered and looking adorable. The next chapter begins in a flower field with someone calling for Elia. The person wants to know what she's doing there, but with a teary voice, she tells them not to talk to her. Whoever it is, they say they'll apologize for messing with her like that. But she turns around and snaps. That's a lie. What kind of joke is it to push someone off a mountain? He apologizes, saying it was an accident, but she tells him he really needs to stop hitting his little sister like that. Then he hands her a small package, saying all he wants is for her to grow strong and powerful enough to protect herself. She takes the bread and asks if he stole it, but he quickly says, of course not. He just bought the leftovers because they were cheaper. Then he mentions that thanks to the Baron, he might be promoted to Knight Apprentice. She asks what that means, and he explains that he'll be sent to the battlefield. There he'll gain real-world experience and who knows, maybe even earn the title of Guardian. He scoffs, telling her to stop dreaming about something like that. Someone who hits his little sister could never become a Guardian. He replies that life is full of mysteries and you never really know. But then she asks the obvious question, doesn't he think he's going to die if he goes to the battlefield? He says that will only happen if he's unlucky, but he's very skilled, so he thinks it's impossible. Angry, she snaps that she hopes he gets unlucky and dies since all he ever does is hit his little sister. Not to mention, he never listens to their parents and only cares about swinging that sword around. He just laughs and tells her to remember, when he becomes a Guardian, he'll always be there to protect her. Back in the present, she wakes up to someone knocking on her door. When she opens it, it's our boy standing there apologizing. He explains that since he's from the countryside, he's not really used to how things work around here. That whole thing about them not being friends was a lie, and he wants to apologize. He even bought some cookies from the kitchen and brought them for her, since they're really good. She just snatches them from his hands and tells him to stop apologizing, because it's weird, especially when they're already friends. Then, turning away, she says she's going to sleep. But before she leaves, he asks for a little favor. He wants her to go somewhere with him. It's urgent. She's now wondering if this guy is crazy. Meanwhile, Eleanor is sitting at her desk, signing some documents. Stunning as always. It looks like they're reviewing material costs and club funding. The glasses girl comments that the only thing left is checking on the recently transferred students. It seems like one of the incoming students belonged to the tribal alliance but lost her position. She's the daughter of one of that place's leaders, which basically means she and her people are exiles now. Her name is Lulu Garuda, and judging by the devastating me strike, yeah, it's that girl with the thigh tattoo. Man, I'd be scared. Eleanor simply responds that she might know her. Also, next semester, an actual saint from the Holy Empire is arriving. Eleanor asks if the girl is coming alone, and her friend replies that of course not. She'll definitely be bringing some companions. At that, our gorgeous student council president starts thinking, it's odd for a saint and the daughter of an ex-tribal leader to be arriving at the same time, so close to each other. She slams the desk, convinced that someone is behind this. Her friend just says that this place is always a mess, and Eleanor sighs, admitting that she sometimes forgets. She apologizes, saying she's just been a little stressed lately, but she'll calm down soon. Under the moonlight, our boy is lying down, commenting that he had no idea the school had an official observation hour. The night sky is beautiful. Ilya is right next to him, asking if they really have to do this right now. The fool just tells her to wait. It's about to happen. Wait, are they sitting on top of a catapult? Are they actually about to get launched? Even though this place is usually restricted to high-level users, he has the special pass from the Chancellor. Then he says, here we go, and they really get launched. He tells her to stay focused and keep her eyes open. With that, they slam into a portal in the sky as he activates the interdimensional card. When he told her to keep her eyes open, she suddenly remembered her brother, who used to say something similar. Poor our boy, he did warn her that this might be a little dangerous. They then vanish with a like on. And do you remember how the last chapter ended? Ilya and our boys jumped into that huge hole. The protagonist was saying they don't have much time in there. Inside the interdimensional realm, it's best not to try touching anything because it can be dangerous. He's hopping from rock to rock like he has no idea what he's doing, while telling everyone to relax. There's no gravity in there. They need to go a little higher than that. Ilya asks what he's looking for, and he says she'll find out soon enough. But she's still terrified, clutching onto a little rock, and then she decides to jump too. She gets thrown downward and starts falling. Then suddenly the scene changes. In a place that's on fire, Ilya ends up asking if they're really going to abandon their mom and dad like that. Her brother tells her not to worry, that he'll take care of their parents. If she sees any descendants of the apocalypse, she needs to hide. She touches his cloak, calls to him, and asks what's going to happen to him. She already knows their mom and dad are dead, everyone's dead, and he's the only one left. He tells her to get the hell away from him. If they leave together, they'll both be in danger. She has to remember he's her brother and her guardian, and right now all she has to do is run as far away as possible. Soon they'll meet again on that mountain where he always trained. Then he yanks off his cloak and tells her goodbye, go now. He says he'll be going too soon. Will he? But then out of nowhere, a hand grabs her arm. It's our boy Dog, telling her she doesn't realize she's falling, but she's falling super slowly. He's like, hold on, Elia. You'll get used to it for the love of God. A little later, they're on a small rock in front of Gregory's pavilion. He pulls out a bag that looks like it starts absorbing energy. Then he seals it and it turns into this balloon thing, kind of like an up. But then in the blink of an eye, everything goes black. Giant teeth appear and he warns them it's an interdimensional beast. Time to get out. The protagonist says they have to collect anything the creature drops. Ellie is totally confused, getting covered in slime while the monster comes in to swallow them both. But it looks like they managed to step onto solid ground. The protagonist thinks, just like he expected, the card's effect lasted long enough. He asks if she's okay, but she's completely drenched in monster drool. And he's like, yeah, that's not sexy at all. And she goes, so that's it, you bastard. You knew all of this? Even that we'd have to run. He says, yes, it all went according to plan. He's thinking that farming Gregory's region early in the game is basic stuff for an experienced player like him. But she asks why he didn't warn her they were going to the interdimensional realm. He says, obviously because I figured you wouldn't follow me if you knew. She throws the bag. He says she's already filled it up, but she can't believe he dragged her into that. The protagonist keeps apologizing, but Aaliyah's affection is going up. It hits 4 and he's standing there like, what? What is wrong with this woman? While she storms off covered in slime. And that's because when they were flying side by side, she blushed. Next chapter, the girl is tying up her hair, all sweaty. Getting ready for what? She asks if it's what she thinks it is, and Dowd says he doesn't know what she's thinking, but it's a psychic entity. Then she's like, oh wow, my lovely little artist, you're so talented. Seeing the bag, she asks if he really went into the interdimensional region. He says yes. Isn't that why you gave me that card? She says, well, I didn't think you'd use it so fast, but more importantly, what happened to your hair? The protagonist says Percy hit him with a lightning blast. Then she says now he has to analyze that interdimensional ectoplasm. He asks if that's enough, and she says of course it is. He doesn't miss the chance and reminds her she said if she was satisfied with what he did, she'd give him something else. She tells him to ask already, since she spent a fortune to get it. So he says instead of a gift, he wants a favor. He wants an item that contains a psychic entity, basically a weapon with the consciousness of someone from the past who achieved great things. She closes her eyes and says it's possible that the consciousness inside the item will gradually grow stronger and awaken. She's excited to see what he'll do because to her, this was the right choice. He's about to say, the item I want is, but she cuts him off. Before that, let me ask you something. Why are you doing this? Like, can you respect the guy and stop dragging it out while he's talking to you? Be professional. She says recently he killed an assassin barehanded and even defeated the hero candidate. What's his motivation for wanting to get even stronger? The protagonist knows the monsters at the end of the story are way more dangerous. He's involved with Elia and Elnor. He says he'll answer with a question. Why is she helping him so much? She tells him to explain she hasn't helped at all. He says it's obvious. She should be asking how he knows how to enter an interdimensional region, how he knows about psychic entities, how he stopped the monsters and everything else. Images of Percy and Elia show up, while he says the academy has basically been revolving around him lately. On top of that, even daily decisions are being influenced by the Chancellor. So why is she backing him this hard? That's what he wants to know. She opens her mouth and says she doesn't like his tone, and the truth is she's only doing it because he's cute. The protagonist scratches his head. He realizes she's not saying anything because he's not revealing anything either. But fine. As long as she guarantees him that psychic entity item, he'll get a lot stronger and get ready for Chapter 2. But before that, there's the main mission of Chapter 1, Purifier. He needed to solve the incident that happens at the stroke of midnight. Someone calls out to him and from that full pouty mouth, you already know who it is. It's Elnor. And today she's more well-behaved. Normally her uniform shows way more than that dress. She says she's been waiting for him at 6. This new Elnor throws him off, and he stammers that she's really different from usual. She comes in explaining everything in detail, saying she found a place nearby and waited for him. She asks if this is his first day out of school since becoming a freshman. He's awkward trying to figure out what to say, while she asks why he won't look her in the eyes. All he can think is that meeting outside school means it's a date. But she doesn't hesitate. She grabs his hand and says they need to go because the line is long. And when they get there, there's a huge crowd. The protagonist thinks there's no way they're getting in today at this pace. Meanwhile, the blonde guy up front is telling number 27 to leave the line and number 28 to step up. Down asks, Mr. Talon, what are you doing here? The guy embarrassed says, Mr. Talon, this is my part-time job. My family doesn't give me an allowance, so I have to make money. Then he asks, but what is the student council president doing with you? He gets nosy. What's the relationship between the two of you showing up together like this? Now Dowd's the one feeling awkward. What is their relationship? This is a date. What is he supposed to say? But Elnor cuts in and says, with the authority of the student council president, I can enter early, can't I? Talon says yes, but before they go in, Dowd asks what that necklace is that Talon's wearing. Talon explains the people from the Purity Foundation gave it to him. The Marquis of Riverbeck runs it. The item is supposed to show whether there's a malignant order, and it'll display authority over Talon. Basically, it sounds like he's going to be controlled. Dowd warns him not to wear it today and to make sure nobody working there is wearing one either. The blonde guy doesn't get it, but says okay, since Dowd is saying so. Dowd knows that because of Elnor and Elia's affection levels, the story is changing. And obviously the Marquise's actions are changing too. The chance that this turns into a simple dinner where he eats and leaves is 0. The story is going to mess with him somehow. And on top of that, Elnor is right there next to him. Life is already way too good. Boom, someone slams a cane on the ground and says it's a pleasure to meet Miss Tristan and the student Dowd. The protagonist immediately thinks he needs to prepare a counterattack. Main mission, a villain is trying to win you over. Get out of this. The man says, Miss Tristan, would you mind if I borrowed Dowd for just a moment to discuss something? Elnor steps forward like, excuse me, why? And Dowd says, relax, it's fine. Then someone else says they'll escort her to the VIP area and she's confused. The Marquis says it's interesting to see how close they are, but it's fine. Once the conversation is over, she can come to the VIP area. Luxury drinks, and the guy asks if Dowd knows why he was called here. Dowd goes straight for it. You want to talk about some nonsense like reviving demons, don't you? The police and security get weaker during the Moonlight Festival, so it's the perfect chance to cause a massacre. Then you use the blood and death from that massacre to build up demonic energy. You just release a bunch of creatures in different locations plus some assassins to wipe out the knights. That'll be the perfect chance to help awaken the demon inside the Tristan bloodline. Too bad I already warned the Chancellor about all of it, so what are you going to do today? He shocks the guy in the first sentence. The Marquis is thinking, now I get why the Prophet likes this kid. He seems like a complete idiot, but he's crafty in a way that's way beyond his age. This kid clearly isn't normal. Then the Marquis says, incredible. But it's a shame my subordinates already took care of Miss Tristan. You didn't plan for that. Right on cue, bang. She kicks the door open, already holding that red dagger, and she looks amazing. Then it rewinds a bit to earlier, when the guys came at her saying she seemed a little agitated. She remembered what the protagonist told her. President, some demon worshippers are going to try to attack you. I know you have issues with that madness disease, but sometimes it's better to let things happen. Then one of those guys puts a hand on her shoulder. Are you out of your mind? Get your hand off her. She instantly activates some power and everything goes dark like black and white with those demonic eyes, saying he has to be captured alive. She blows the first guy's head apart on the table. The others surround her from all sides. Two more rush in. She smashes one in the face with insane flexibility, stabs the other in the neck, and they get completely sliced up. Just the reflection of that possessed blade turns and cuts through everyone. The rest run in panic, and the Marquis says it can't be. What happened? While the president is wiping her huge sword on her elbow, saying she feels refreshed. And with that, Elnor's affection reaches friendship and her madness improves thanks to you. Then she turns to Daoud and says that because of this, their social outing is ruined, so they'll have to schedule a new date. And weirdly, at that moment, an exclusive quest triggers. He caught the attention of Gideon, her father. Before he can understand why, the Marquis pulls something from his chest that looks like a demonic essence. According to the protagonist, Daoud tells Elnor she has to stop the guy from consuming it, while the Marquis opens his mouth and says he's going to receive God's grace, and you already know what that means. Cut to the little house image, then a massive explosion of black energy blasts out in every direction. Next chapter, the protagonist's hand sticks out from the rubble. He tries to crawl while the guy says this is wonderful. He didn't want to abuse this power before the prophets, but now he wants to see how the damn Daoud Campbell will respond to it. The guy is flying in the sky. Daoud looks up thinking this world is trying to kill him. This is a creature that's supposed to show up way later in the story. And now he gets the mission to take this guy down and keep casualties to a minimum. The bigger problem isn't even him. It's that all the demon worshippers nearby have been revived and are coming to attack too. Then someone yells, Professor Daoud's lethal slash, and Daoud's thinking, who came up with that name for this skill? It's Talon next to Elnor. He's happy to be alive but asks what those things are. Daoud explains if you were still wearing that necklace, you'd look exactly like them. Talon immediately figures it's the Marquise's doing and says yeah. And now, if you don't want to be stuck in this hell forever, listen to what I'm about to say. Talon's talking and I'm going to listen to every tip you've got, Professor Daoud. Meanwhile, Elnor's all fired up too, right? She's standing there kind of lightly flushed, saying, wow, this is such a dangerous situation, and he's acting strategically seriously. She doesn't even finish what she's saying, but the protagonist apparently has already laid out a plan. She asks if he knows where the Marquis went, and he says he has an idea, because all demon worshippers share the same goal. They want to spread chaos and despair, all in the name of the sacred land they own, known as Pandemonium. And they want to turn this planet into Pandemonium too, and that's where he's headed. Wait, he's at the Angel's Barrier? The demon says that even if he can't destroy the demonic barrier, he'll still damage it. Then someone sends him there, and when he looks back, he asks how Daoud already knows he's there. Our boy says it's pretty obvious. He got access to the demon's authority, so of course he'd go straight to where the evil is sealed. Now Elnor can let him go. Ah, he got brought in stuck like that. Damn, that's good. The demon thanks them, saying now he doesn't need to look for the Tristan girl or him either. The protagonist, though, says that no matter what happens, the two of them are going to survive. While dear Elnor is thinking something feels off. She can't believe how much our boy trusts her. But to keep the Tristan house's dignity, she has to live up to that trust. Wow, there's some real romance going on here, and I'm into it. And she charges in. The demon gets startled. She gets cut across the chest while the protagonist is on the ground telling her to keep going that way, warning her the demon isn't getting out of there. Thunder everywhere. Our boy is flipping and spinning all over the place, while the demon's confused. How is this kid dodging everything? And oh no, here comes another slash to the leg. Not sure what happened, but she got yanked by lightning. The protagonist still on the ground moving, using the combat and bolt. The demon tells the insect to stop running, but Elnor's behind him saying the same thing. Suddenly the creature says they're annoying, brings its arms together, and a lightning bolt almost hits the protagonist, who rolls away. The demon essence starts to glow. The guy calls on the fangs of darkness and an attack comes in to grab our boy. But then someone activates the divine shield. The lightning hits, and it looks like it got tanked. But at the same time it hits his chest. He gets thrown back, smacks his head on the ground, blood in his mouth, and the demon laughs. The bastard laughs, saying he's tougher than he expected. But now he's used up all the cards he had. Elnor tells the protagonist to get up, she'll buy him some time. The demon says that the Tristan girl is pretty tenacious. They really were a perfect couple. Don't say that, she's going to like it. And that's when she gets thoughtful. On the train day she saved him with the shield, but he was the one who sacrificed himself for her. In the dungeon she was the assassin's target, but Dal was the one who faced him. Every time he's been protecting her, and now it's her turn to pay the price. Then the vitality necklace drops onto our protagonist and he recovers constitution and stamina, and she gets ready, saying she'll believe in him to the very end. The demon laughs and says it brings tears to his eyes, but the time has come. Elnor cuts him off and says she has a question. Seriously, I thought she was going to say something important. She asks, in your eyes tonight, are me and that boy a good-looking couple? The demon's like, what kind of conversation is this? The demon says, terrifyingly yes, but asks if she plans to become a housewife, if she gets out alive. She just goes, hops, vanishes out of nowhere and lands a kick right in the thing's face. Except now she's got that fully possessed pitch-black look. A sequence of slashes hits every limb pentagram star. Using the maximum Tramontana must be some power from her family, and the creature slams into the ground. The whole area is cracking and the demon is confused, wanting to know what Dowd did, but the protagonist seems to have disappeared, and the demon calls the kid a rat. Elnor says no, while the creature looks like it's trying to retreat, asking what her next hidden card is. Meanwhile, in another part of the university, Conrad says they finally handled it. Elia says they were lucky everyone arrived so fast. Percy says it was thanks to what Dowd said they were already prepared. Conrad agrees and says he owes that kid dinner. If it weren't for him, this would have been way worse. But the scene cuts back to the protagonist, totally wrecked, saying he found what Talion left behind. He goes to grab it, saying it hurts too much, but he has to endure it for Elnor, and then she's the one who crashes headfirst into the ground next to him. As she looks at Dowd, the demon says the Tristan daughter really is tenacious. That's enough, they don't have any plan left. And then a lightning bolt pierces the protagonist's chest, and the demon tells him to die. Elnor freaks out, everything goes black and white. The demon was preparing another attack, and the protagonist's deadly charm activates. The target, something unreadable, gives him something too. This message makes no sense, but now she's transformed and our boy looks scared seeing it. People in the comments are saying those little horns help in a certain situation to make things more intense. I don't get it. Leave a comment if you know what they mean. The whole world is freezing in black and white, while that confusing message hangs over the protagonist with a direct threat. It's impossible to understand, but Elnor is now fully possessed, smiling like she's lost it. The protagonist realizes part of the system got disabled and some of his abilities were stolen. And whatever it is, it's using Elnor's body as a vessel to show itself, a fragment of the demon. And the deadly charm is still active, which increases the interest of evil creatures. And the stronger and more extreme the passion is, the stronger the effect. The demon girl comes up, puts a hand on his chest, and says something like, love you. Hard to make out. She slices him and he gets a mark. The mark of the fallen that guarantees some effect, also unclear. Basically, none of it makes sense. But he notices time in his wound is rewinding like it's going back to the past, while possessed Elnor is floating there, and he knows that thing is the strongest creature. The game's final boss, and right now it's acting weirdly friendly. He doesn't know if the future is going to change, but he needs to survive right now and get what he wants. Then he remembers that ability he'd been saving. He can duplicate someone's ability, but he's feeling pressure so extreme it's like his body could explode any second. His skin is about to tear, but he needs to copy a skill. He'll never see an entity this powerful again, and he needs to be by her side in the future. Then Elnor, out of her mind, claps, smiles, and says they'll see each other again, and she'll make sure he's something because she disappears. The demon throws another attack toward the protagonist. The creature is kind of confused, trying to figure out where the kid went, and then something comes from behind. When the demon turns to look, a glow takes over the sky and explodes into the ground. Smoke everywhere. The creature asks how this is happening, and the protagonist drops right in front of it, with the dangerous situation fully in play. Our boy's life is still at risk, but the desperate survival skill activates at rank EX. And now he also has the new skill, Sovereign of Pandemonium. You will have a huge advantage against demon-type creatures for the next 5 minutes. Our boy is just pure aura farming, Elnor is basically half dead, and the demon screams, asking how someone as pathetic as him this is impossible. Our boy charges and that's it, a punch right in the middle of its face, and the monster gets launched. And Deward says now it's time for round 2. I've got a theory that's kind of inversely proportional here. The protagonist is going to get strong with demon power and now he's going to become the final boss. Imagine that. The demon is screaming, saying the prophet never mentioned him, and then the scene cuts to it getting absolutely smashed into the ground. The creature gets up, saying something's wrong. He shouldn't have that much power. It spits blood, saying it doesn't make sense. He risked himself for countless years and trained for many more to obtain this body. How does this kid suddenly have the same power he does? Welcome to protagonist power. He stomps the ground, saying it's frustrating, and activates some kind of black mist that uses demonic energy to amplify power. Blessing of Tark's soul through the strength of the black mist gets stronger. Basically, he's powering up, and the protagonist goes in with his face completely black, punch for punch, face to face. Dragon Ball style blows, Kamehameha versus Kamehameha, energy everywhere. But then the creature comes in with that huge hand grabbing the protagonist's head, except the kid activates a massive shield with golden wings. The demon is obviously confused. The kid has divine protection. How does a demon like that use divinity? The protagonist answers by driving a knee straight into its mouth. The creature bounces away, full-on Dragon Ball skipping and slamming into little hills. This fight is such a tribute. Our boy even comes in with that classic overhead elbow drop, hits it so hard it's like the thing got launched by a catapult. The demon is confused and the protagonist is right next to it like, I don't get it. Then our boy says he was right not to return this, presses the button, and the creature gets flung far away. The demon screams that it's going to rip him in half, but our boy from a distance pulls out a cannon and says his final words are terrible. And then he fires a bazooka that melts the creature, which asks how he predicted all of this. Too late. The kid literally won the fight Dragon Ball style and finished it Looney Tunes style, with that catapult in midair. With that, the mission is completed, and he gets a hero fragment and 5,000 points. He realizes he got way more than he expected, probably because the difficulty ended up being higher than it should have been. He's smiling until he remembers he has to go back and see how Elnor is, but then there's a little shoe tapping his back. Oh, it's the droopy chest girl, calling him and saying Miss Elnor is fine. But he's gonna have to explain how all of this happened and everything he knows about the Grey Demon. The protagonist asks what she's talking about. She says it's more than obvious he's involved with the demon too. Then the scene cuts to Elnor needing a blood transfusion. She's completely wrecked. Don't beat up my waifu like that. And someone's asking why the priestess isn't coming. The scene goes back to the woman questioning our boy, saying the authorities are going to keep an eye on everything that happened in that area. And obviously noticing the demon's presence, he's going to be investigated. The kid is right in the eye of the storm, so he has to explain how they got to that point. The protagonist is thinking he already gave up on living like a background character. Now he has direct connections to demons. And then he says, well, honestly, I got lucky. The strongest demon in all of Pandemonium, the Grey Demon, seemed to have some kind of intention toward me. The Chancellor replies that they know that demon seems to have chosen Elnor as its vessel. And she just says that's fine, she won't question him. Just like that? Okay, sure. She tells him to rest, but the protagonist collapses like a complete idiot onto the floor, can't even stay standing. And then what is this? Did she use teleportation? Out of nowhere, he ends up sleeping on her thighs. He's not going to complain while she tells him he should know there are other fragments scattered around that can manifest at any moment. She's saying this while our boy gets shy, remembering it's obvious. In the story, other demons show up because other girls become vessels of evil, like the Red Knight incident caused by the Crimson Demoness. The problem is that this demoness changes the people she chooses to take control of as the story goes on. The only constant things are the story moments involving Elnor and Elia, and the Chancellor tells him to remember that the Holy Empire has extremely strong intelligence. They've probably already considered Elnor a possible candidate to be a demon vessel. The protagonist is confused. If she knows that, why does it feel like this Chancellor is trying to gather all the demonesses in one place? And she says that once a person who was a demon's vessel fell in love, and as a result, the demon fragment was completely eradicated. It seems love destroys the seeds of destruction. For a second, the protagonist thinks it has nothing to do with him. It just sounds like a classic kind of story. Until the Chancellor tells him it looks like the Grey Demon liked the boy. He's over there staring at her thighs, saying she must be going crazy. Yeah, sure. But she fires back that it's not up to him to decide. What matters is that she looks interested. Hurrah, reader. Right, there's no way around it. In that military outfit, she's unmatched. And the protagonist is listening to her say that she's already approved his judgment and excellence. That's why she wants to make a sincere request. Seriously, please seduce the demon vessels. The protagonist backs off like, what are you even talking about? Are you out of your mind? She says she'll help him make sure his flirting works perfectly. He doesn't need to worry that all the targets so far are girls, so he's safe. There's our military queen. There's the shy one. There's the tribal girl with those thighs. Damn, she's gorgeous. There's the little witch too. And that one's dangerous. And the Chancellor says he's already been blessed by the heavens and managed to win over the Grey Demon girl, so anyone else should be easier. But the protagonist is thinking, if he were really that skilled, he wouldn't be some cursed virgin. The woman keeps arguing that this is the only way for him to eradicate the fragments and save the world. How convenient. Get every woman in the school so the world can be saved. Dowd's like, so you don't believe in real love at all? You don't know that's wrong? That it's basically cheating, you realize that? And she says he doesn't understand. His targets aren't normal people either. They're demon worshippers who obviously are going to have unusual preferences. So normal isn't something to worry about anyway. Still, she sincerely asks him to save humanity. All the protagonist can think is that he wants to get out of this mess. Then he asks, Chancellor, have you ever thought about what happens if I fail to seduce them? She says he should know that in Chapter 14, humanity gets completely wiped out and the world falls into ruin. Basically, a demon-ruled empire is born. Dowd just thinks he hates whoever designed this game curse. In the comments, people are already saying they want to add the Chancellor to the harem. Relax, there are already 6 to deal with. And the most important one right now is waking up asking where she is. Her friend comes in asking when she's finally going to wake up. Then Elnor asks if she skipped class today. The friend immediately lunges in to grab her thighs, telling the stream she finally woke up. She was so worried she thought she died. Elnor tells her to calm down and asks what happened to Dowd. The friend wipes her tears and says he was already released. He wasn't even that badly hurt. Elnor thinks that's weird and asks, wait, so I was hurt like I was about to die and Dowd wasn't in any danger at all? We jump back a bit. Elnor is passed out and her friend says she's been like that for 2 days. What if she never wakes up? She'll kill him. Dowd tells Senior to calm down. The president isn't someone who would die in a fight like that. She'll wake up in a few days. He guarantees it. She asks how he can guarantee anything, and he says because he survived. And the Tristan family isn't that weak. She wouldn't risk her life just to die for someone like him. Back to the present, looks like the friend told Elnor that story. And now she says that since Elnor's awake, it's time to go over a few facts. Elnor, still covered in hospital stuff, is like, let me recover first. But her friend says no, she's getting straight to the point. Recently, she managed to contact 2 people who've been causing trouble in the region. Well, it's not only demons that keep life interesting. St. Luciana is coming to the city. Elnor asks what she's doing here. Wasn't she only supposed to show up next semester? The friend says she doesn't know either, but it looks like she'll arrive next week. With all these demon incidents happening, the Holy Empire wants to be more present around here. Then she says she has to mention the next person, and Elnor asks who. Cut to some guy slicing up a huge beast. No thanks, it's some Sir Gideon who's coming to the academy. Like, excuse me, don't you know this is a harem story? Only women are allowed in here. Get out. Except Gideon is Elnor's father. Yeah, that's bad. Go find the next target, because now this guy's gonna block the fun. Then the scene shifts to a window where someone's watching, and the saint is smoking a cigarette. St. Lucian, I thought you were well behaved. Turns out you're rebellious. And she's even saying light is unpleasant. The guy at the window says it's strange for a saint to say light is uncomfortable. She says if he spent his whole life in a dark chapel, he'd think the same. A boy who looks like Joffrey from Game of Thrones says this conversation is too negative. She sighs and tells him to just close the window already. But he's annoying too. He says he wants to stay there a little longer, peacefully, soaking in the sun. That's when she points out how funny it is for him to talk about peace when there's a demon worshipper and a saint in the same room. He says he thought she'd become a bit friendlier. She tells him he should remember the anxiety he felt when they first met. They're only cooperating because they share the same goal. It's ridiculous to think they'd actually be at peace. Then there's this malicious energy coming off him, saying humans are the ones holding her leash, but the truth is her fate is in his hands. She says it's all the same. Valkasis can think whatever he wants. At least she has someone in this life she wants to protect. Yeah, this saint is clearly going to be trouble for our guy. Scene change. The protagonist gets a letter from his father saying summer is coming and it's hot as hell. He's supposed to eat well, drink water, stay hydrated. Harvest season is coming, and they're sending a guy named Herman to help him, and he can ask him for anything. The Campbell region, his home is peaceful, so he doesn't need to worry. All his father wants is for him not to draw attention. Stay in the middle of the class, not too bad, not too good. And if he manages to get a girlfriend, he should bring her when he comes home for vacation. While the letter says that, there's a little photo of Elnor. The protagonist is happy his father didn't come, and in front of him is Herman, saying he's there to help with whatever he needs. Just speak slowly. Protagonist already knows this guy won't be useful for anything. At least he brought some grapes from the Campbell house. While our guy eats and says at least they're seedless, some people start talking. This kid's getting full of himself. Bringing a servant to school, what does he think he is, a noble? So the protagonist tells Herman it'd be better if he acted more like a friend than a butler. Herman's standing there with grape juice on his chin looking odd, while the protagonist thinks he doesn't have time to mess around. What the Chancellor said sounded really weird. Something about seals and demons and saving humanity. And he's got a mission where Elnor is in the inheritance of the cursed state. And her father is also curious because that inheritance is active. And the main quest now is some boy king who ruined a country. The problem is he doesn't know how to prepare for the first mission, because he never even saw Gideon in the original story. It's like the first time you meet him, he's already just a corpse. Someone massacred him right in front of Elnor. That's what, in the original, awakens the gray demon inside her. But this time her power already awakened in the first term, so the plan changed. Which is a huge problem, because with Gideon alive, everything is changing completely. Considering how close he is to Elnor, it's inevitable the protagonist will run into him. But he needs to avoid it as much as possible. If it happens, he has to get as much information as he can. Things the game never even explained. Then the protagonist sees Talon smacking Herman and telling him to stop bullying the protagonist. Our guy says, that's my butler, and warns him, Talon, you're hitting my butler, so tomorrow you're lending me your sword. Talon immediately drops to his knees like, okay. Looks like he's really into our guy. Finally, the scene switches to what we actually want. Our guy talking with Elnor. She says it's strange he wants to join the divinity department, but now he wants her to teach him sword techniques. He says it's obviously because the Tristan techniques are the rarest. He wants to learn at least the basics. He's taking advantage of the affection meter still going up. He can ask for favors like this, and she says fine. Since it's a formal request from her junior, she'll help. And yeah, he's desperate to copy her fencing, obviously. But then someone approaches and says it's a rare sight. The president, with so much to do, wasting time there. It's Elia, asking what private lesson is going on. Elnor says yes. Dowd's asked personally, so she's helping him. The protagonist can already tell this is going to turn into drama. Elia says he shouldn't learn from Elnor, because Elnor uses one hand in fencing while he fights with two-handed swords. Elnor says what's taught matters less than who teaches. Elia agrees and says that's exactly why she should teach him, since she used to be the professor's assistant and specializes in instruction too. Elnor comes in heated, asking if Elia really wants to find out who's worthy to teach him. The protagonist realizes he hasn't gotten a single second of class, and they're already wrecking his plan. Elia gets ready to draw her sword, saying she knows several openings in the Tristan style. Meanwhile, Herman is off to the side, saying the young master is causing that infamous duel between girls. Elia asks if Elnor is ready to use her powers considering the Tristan condition. Elnor says Elia could never pull something like that off. Elia leaps in, saying class is starting. Elnor looks bored, saying Elia's movements are too wide. A strike is about to hit her shoulder, but Elnor blocks with a clean motion. Look at the veins in her hand popping. Next exchange, Elia is getting beaten down. She's shocked that Elnor attacks way faster and none of the hits are weak, but Elia starts wondering what she's doing. She can't believe she might lose to a demon like that. She stomps hard and swings, and Elnor spins, telling herself she's going to end these demons. She knows that woman will be consumed one day no matter what. In the end, she's just another sacrifice. Then Elia's sword flares up with a fiery aura, Guardian's true hit, and the protagonist is like, isn't this getting a little too serious? Elnor says she really does have trouble controlling her emotions, and she slashes because Elia's attack was heading toward the protagonist. The flames scatter. Elia panics, Herman passes out, and Elnor looks flawless. The protagonist notices her reaction time is kind of abnormal. Looks like she'd started merging with the piece. Elia from a distance apologizes, and Elnor says yes, Elia is skilled, but there's something beyond swordsmanship she needs to practice, not putting her friends in danger. That's a brutal scolding. Herman's there, skinny and unconscious. Now our guy is thinking Elnor is evolving way too fast. He can't afford to waste time. He needs to get strong as soon as possible. And it's not like he can't take shortcuts. To survive, he needs sacred astral energy. Swordsmanship alone won't be enough. He needs to train both sides. That's why he came to talk to her. She's eating an apple while he says she looks healthy. But then the crazy girl looks back and attacks him in half a second, and he's thinking it's time for him to help the saint's little sister. Next chapter, there's a huge corrupted skeleton on the ground, and someone says, if you still think someone's gonna come save you, or that someone will be your friend, that's only gonna hurt you even more. There's always some devil's sibling. With these women, it's not daddy issues. What is it, brother issues? He says hope is the prelude to despair. She should accept that just like her sister did. A drop of blood hits her forehead, the demon starts taking over the body, and he says now she's become a cursed amulet, and she'll be alone forever, even when she dies, because that's how she'll protect everyone. Suddenly she opens her eyes, hearing a voice saying this is Yuria's duty. She finds herself in that abandoned cabin, and now we're back to the moment where she picks up a little apple to eat. When the main guy shows up asking how she's doing, saying she looks healthy, she turns around that same second and hurls her sword straight at him. Like, okay, she's not playing around. He jumps in to defend himself and she starts moving like crazy, throwing slashes in every direction. While she's thinking he should back off before she hurts him, another attack comes in. He blocks again, but he ends up falling backward as the blade stabs into the ground right in front of him. He goes, hey kid, you're in pretty good shape if you can swing that sword like that. I told you I'd come by sometimes and bring food. Don't you even remember me? I figured you must be lonely, so I came to visit. She's kind of dazed while he's talking, remembering her brother saying he hopes she learns quickly that she's nothing but a cursed amulet, and she's going to die alone. But the main guy keeps talking, going back and forth like that. Then he says, I'm here to see you, and she remembers her brother again. Screw you, girl, you're gonna die alone. The closer you get to people, the more you'll suffer. Then she sees what he brought, takes the little bread roll, drops the sword, and starts crying, totally overwhelmed. I think she's happy because he managed to bring food and didn't get hurt, you know? He's seriously built different. And with him back, Yuria's interest shoots up a lot. Now there's even a reward. Meanwhile, Hernan, the useless one, is just sleeping. Thanks to her, he got the skill Fencing Focus rank B, which boosts his reaction time and accuracy in combat. He's already thinking it'll be a great combo to activate together with Desperate Survivor, but he also wants to know why his brother is so careless. He's always asleep. On top of that, he's also leveling up the Tristan fencing technique, and now he can use any weapon, plus he can pull off some blocks and has a small chance to ignore defenses. So he tells his brother to wake up already, because today he's going to show off in front of that person. Yeah, today the main guy is going to talk to the future father-in-law, Gideon Gale. Stad de la Tristan. The city's packed, and a knight tells the old man he'll carry his things. In the background, a couple is talking about the Holy Empire's arrival this year. Looks like it's the day when all the students' families come to visit. And from the stage, the announcer welcomes everyone to the best academy in the Empire. It's an honor to offer everyone the chance to watch a battle royale. Meanwhile, some nobles are freaked out asking what that person is doing there. Someone who never shows up unless there's a war. Gideon himself, why would he come to watch this? Some say it must be because of Elnor. His daughter is here. But others are sure that's not enough, considering who he is. And he's sitting there alone, and nobody goes near him while he's holding that sword. Except Conrad, who walks up like, hey Gideon, what are you doing here? Gideon just replies, aren't you tired of teaching kids? Conrad ignores that and asks, and you, what brings you to a place like this all of a sudden? Did you finally reach the level of the first Archduke Tristan? Gideon sighs and says he's just taking a break from training. He finally reached the part of training where he has to conquer mountains. Conrad goes, what do you mean conquer a mountain? And Gideon says he cut it in half. That's how the Tristans solve everything. Imagine if he finds out someone's trying to go after his daughter. And it's Dowd, too. Like sure, everyone watching this wanted an Elnor in their life, giving affection 24/7. The announcer says the battle royale is starting with the new students. Conrad says to watch because this year is good. Then she explains everyone will get a wooden weapon so nobody dies. And there they are, the students start coming in, and the main guy is in the middle thinking he really shouldn't have joined this. Honestly, yeah, you're obviously going to draw a ton of attention. What do you even gain from doing this? Poor Talon still thinks he has a chance of beating Dowd. There's Saint Girl, there's Elia, who's also wondering why Dowd decided to participate. And here we go. While some nobles are grabbing big swords, there's another girl over there running her fingers along a smaller blade. Dangerous. Everyone's in the arena and the last one standing gets special points. Plus, the top 10 also get some advantages. Herman is telling our boy, basically, at least secure top 10. While the main guy is wondering where Gideon is, he wants Gideon to look at him. Funny how when it's about putting an effort for a girl, he doesn't care. But now that Gideon might be watching, he's all fired up. Elia's thinking she and he don't really have anything to worry about. But that other one in the red hood is clearly a problem. Up above, Elnor Tristan is just watching, and her father glances over too. The announcer tells everyone to start, and the whole thing turns into Harry Potter. People flying around, throwing fireballs, swords clashing, shield bashes, and the hooded girl is straight up throwing punches. Yeah, I recognize that. Zoom in, editor. Look at her thigh with that tribal tattoo. We know that's another powerhouse showing up. Talon comes charging in, hitting the main guy, and the main guy asks why he's trying to pick a fight with him. He just defends. Using the Tristan-style block, huh? Did Gideon notice? The kid's there, but he's not drawing that much attention. Then Gideon suddenly locks eyes with him and the dangerous situation triggers, because the muscular, thick-thighed girl comes in with a kick. Not comes in, she lands it clean, shatters the wooden sword, and she's staring and smiling, asking what he thinks he's doing. Like, come at me. Our boy crashes into Valian, totally wrecked. What kind of angle is that? What kind of POV is that? He recognizes her, the daughter of the Tribal War Association, a character who was only supposed to show up in Chapter 5. Everyone's shocked. Elnor watching, Elia confused. She throws her cloak back and says if he won't come to her, she'll handle it herself. With story cliches, she's definitely the brute-type girl who charges in no matter what. And the main guy knows that in the story she's a sadist who loves beating people up. The problem is, since she was supposed to appear in Chapter 5, he thinks not even EX-level survival is going to guarantee him a win. At this point, is she stronger than Elnor? Seriously? He's still messed up from that kick, wondering why this psycho is even participating in an event like this. Then Talon tells the main guy he's going to make sure Dope gets first place, but our boy tells him he'd better run before he gets beaten up. Then Talon steps in front of him and goes, if you want to touch Dope, you'll have to get through me. Poor guy. He really said that to the one girl who enjoys beating people senseless. In 1 second, there's a hand in front of Talon's chest. The main guy tries to activate a fencing speed skill, but she just tells him not to die. Then classic 1-inch punch. Boom. She sends him flying, along with everyone else in the arena, and she's got that demon look in her eye. The main guy realizes he wasn't even the one who took the hit, but it still hurt like hell. She scratches her head and goes, damn, I thought you were kind of trash, but you're still standing? If that's how it is, I can go all out on you. The main guy wonders if he has any chance against her and Elnor, and Gideon says, impossible. She comes in with another kick, and he blocks it with his sword. She's happy, but he knows that's only happening in his dreams. Then she unleashes a JoJo-style punch barrage. He tries to hold the block, knowing he can't waste a single second of stamina, until boom, the sword drops to the ground and he says he quits. Honestly, I think this is his plan. Since she likes beating people up, he won't give her the chance to hit him, so she'll get obsessed. The kid's playing 200 IQ, she's confused. The whole crowd thinks it's weird. Elia thinks, well, I guess that was smart. As the main guy walks out, he's like, hey, why are you all trashing me? I don't have a chance anyway. I'm leaving before I get wrecked. The announcer says it ended in a kind of anticlimactic way. And now Lulu is yelling, saying if that bastard has a problem, she hadn't even started yet. And of course, the charm effect triggers, hinting at a future explosive relationship. The main guy laughs, thinking it really was the best choice. Then suddenly a sack gets thrown over his head. With that red collar, it's obvious who it is. When he pulls the sack off and opens his eyes, he's in a room with Gideon, who asks if he learned fencing from her. He doesn't even say her name, just to make it extra obvious. The main guy thinks that considering his plan, this isn't a bad outcome. He says no, and Gideon asks where he learned the Tristan fencing techniques. Like, did the kid really think Gideon wouldn't recognize that kind of defense? So answer me, where did you learn it? The main guy thinks Gideon can't see, he's nervous. Standing in front of him is the reincarnation of the blade. The moment he shows weakness, everything's over. So he says he learned it from someone Gideon also knows. The Blade Emperor always likes showing up at unexpected moments, even in some random rural place. Gideon goes, my master taught you? That's an interesting lie. Keep talking. The main guy thinks the best way to hide a tree is to plant a forest. So he says yes, he was taught personally by Gideon's master, who asked him for a favor, and he thinks the smallest lie is the best way to hide a bigger lie. Gideon tells him to say what the favor is, and the main guy says his mission is to teach Gideon the way of the sword. Gideon turns and asks if his master really asked for something like that. The main guy goes, yeah, trust me. Gideon says he'll have to take responsibility for those words, and our boy acts confident. What he doesn't fully get is what taking responsibility is going to look like. All he wants is to use the info he has from the original story. The problem is, Gideon is someone people only talk about in rumors, and the main guy can't even estimate how strong he really is. And now he knows Gideon is testing him, which makes sense, because to Gideon he probably looks insane. Still, he hates this kind of silence. Then Gideon suddenly extends a finger and points at him, and asks if he's not going to block. Daub doesn't really get it, and Gideon says that right now he'd already be dead, And then the cup Gideon was holding plus the whole table gets destroyed. The main guy recognizes the technique as the formless blade, a skill that cuts things without you even being able to see a sword. And the problem is that's the final version of the last skill in the knight's talent tree, and Gideon used it like it was nothing. Something else falls to the floor and Gideon says he died again. If he can't even react to that, what is Gideon supposed to learn from him? The main guy knows an imperial knight with that kind of swordsmanship could kill a dragon. But at the same time, Gideon is incomplete, so the main guy says, "You're incredible, just like the rumors say, Lord Gideon. But if that skill were complete, you wouldn't even need to move." At this rate, this story can't have many chapters, because by chapter 120, it's going to be Dragon Ball Z, fighting aliens and everything. We're already at fighting without moving a finger. Gideon asks if he even understands what he's saying. The main guy thinks of course he does. In the original story, they get Gideon's notes after he dies. It explains step by step what he did to become stronger, what his master taught him, the family history, all of it. So the main guy answers that the goal Gideon wants so badly is something he also has in mind. And we see Gideon's teacher saying that to break the family curse, he'd have to learn to cut the seas. Then the main guy tells Gideon that rotational movement is the key. The moment the image of the target is clear in his mind, he has to draw a perfect line. And the only way to apply that in real life is by adding rotational force. I'm confused. Gideon's confused and the main guy doesn't even know if what he's saying makes sense. He's just reciting what was written in Gideon's journal. And Gideon's death happens later, so the journal has things this Gideon doesn't know yet. Gideon starts imagining a bunch of lines going back and forth, and he looks shaken. Then suddenly it's like the whole place is getting sliced apart, light flashing everywhere, glittering. Okay, wait, what? He imagined everything getting destroyed, and now he wants to know who the main guy really is, like he's trying to seduce him. "I'm just a kid who wants to make you stronger. Lord Gideon, you don't want to be seducing women like that, do you, kid?" The protagonist's plan is simple. Gideon can't die, and Elnor can't be corrupted. And now he finally got what he wanted, the seal of immunity. No matter what kind of trouble he causes, he can pull this thing out and get himself out of it. Basically, it also gives him one chance to have Gideon show up and defend him. And that guy is the Empire's current executioner. If nobody in the country can deal with a certain person, he's the one they call to take anyone out from the shadows. On top of that, the number of people affected by the charm went up, which improved the gifts he received. Now even his talent for being loved by villainesses has leveled up too, so he's getting even more rewards. And thanks to what he got from Gideon, he gained the guidance ability. So if a villain unlocks a new ability, he also gets that same ability. You can use the added abilities temporarily, okay? It's not permanent, but he's sure it's perfect for what he's planning. He writes something down, closes the book, and he knows it won't be easy. Still, he's going to protect the Tristan family. Honestly, this guy doesn't dedicate himself to women the way he dedicates himself to Gideon. Next chapter, we're in class studying sacred energy, something everyone has. The students don't look interested at all, and the teacher is furious. There are tons of empty seats, nobody cares about his class. He's sure it's that damn Riverback's fault. Releasing zombies at school, fine. But turning into a demon? That was way too far. And the new students this year are a complete mess. At least nobody knows he and Riverback were working together. So he's going to stand there teaching, pretending he doesn't know anything. Then someone asks how you train sacred energy, Professor. But he's already mad because out of all the new students, Dot is the one he hates the most. Suddenly he says the class is too late anyway, and that's it. Today's over. Now he's back in his office thinking, that damn kid. Why does he keep getting on my nerves? I should have finished those documents already and gotten out of this empire. Now that would have been a good plan. But then there's someone at the door. Professor, we need help. I have a question about today's lesson. He goes over thinking, oh my god, kids are so annoying, but then the door explodes and he gets thrown to the floor. He turns around like, who's insane enough to kick a teacher's door in? That was a brutal kick. And yep, it's her, ready to stomp him with high heels. Next scene, he's tied up with a pounding headache, and he sees Dao Du there and asks if he's lost his mind. Does he think he can hit a teacher like that and just walk away? But Dao just tells him to relax, because right now he's the one who's trapped. And Elnor is there too, gorgeous as always. The teacher says Dao is ridiculous. What kind of stupid thing is he trying to pull? Who gave him the authority to arrest anyone? Then Elnor says they already know he's a spy. Other people have already been informed about his connection and involvement in the last demon incident. It's depressing to think more than one teacher wanted their students to die. And there's no point pretending anymore, because they found a letter in his house addressed to Marquis F. Riverback. He keeps insisting it's a lie, saying they made it up like he, a member of the clergy, would ever be involved in something like that. The protagonist tells him to shut up and tell the truth, because they're running out of time. He demands the names of all the spies in the school. The teacher refuses until Elnor punches him in the mouth. Blood everywhere, and then he starts talking. It's guard Barrymore, the nutritionist, whatever and more. The protagonist heals him a bit, saying you can't understand anything when his mouth is full of blood. But the teacher is confused. How does this kid know how to use sacred energy? After a few names, Dowd starts to leave and the teacher asks where he's going. Dowd says it's obvious. Did he really think giving names would be enough to let him off the hook? Elnor says she'll grab the documents from the desk, and then the teacher starts activating an aura, saying he won't allow that. The protagonist notices the teacher knows military strategies. In a second, the guy is right in front of him, hand reaching for the papers. Then Elnor slashes him. His neck twists. he slams into the wall, and the Chancellor gets splattered like she just got hit with a surprise shower. But Dowd celebrates. He got all the information about the Empire's spies. He thanks his friend, while Elnor just watches the teacher, who's furious, saying he never liked Dowd from the start. Dowd reminded him too much of someone he met when he first learned about Riverback. He kneels and says it's an honor to meet the Prophet. The Prophet warns him, if he asks anything, he dies right there. If he tells anyone he saw her, he dies too. Wait, that's the Prophet? Doesn't she look like Elia? If Elia were just a little bolder, or am I imagining things? And this guy thinks the woman he saw looks like the protagonist? Is his eyesight messed up, or am I missing something? The scene shifts to another part of the school. The protagonist is relieved they handled everything. But Eleanor says messing with Final like that isn't really her style. The good part is her madness seems to be getting better. Then she immediately asks if he has anything to say. Confused, staring at the little crystal, he says no, not really. She leans in, seriously girl, saying she heard he met her father. Why did that happen? The protagonist freezes. He says he did meet her father, but nobody knows about it, and it wasn't made public. The problem is he hadn't even thought for a second about what excuse he'd give. Eleanor says she hopes her father didn't do anything to him. He says no, he didn't. He just noticed the protagonist had used Tristan abilities and came to ask about it. She thinks it's strange and asks why Gideon would be interested in him. He says maybe it was because of the competition. Who knows? She walks off saying fine, whatever. She doesn't think her father would be interested in an amateur like him, and apparently it has nothing to do with her. The protagonist thinks it does though, and he has a feeling they're going to end up seeing each other more often. Then he blurts out that he's part of her family, and he has no choice but to stay close to Gideon if he wants to protect her. Right after saying it, he regrets it. I shouldn't have said that, I'm not strong enough to protect her yet. Eleanor calls him and says she's noticed he seems more comfortable around her now. Adjusting her little hat, she tells him that if he's thinking about protecting her, he needs to be careful with what he says first. Scene change. Dowd is talking with his brother, who's confused. Dowd's drawing a lot of attention, talking to the Tristan family's father, walking around with Eleanor, but Dowd tells him to relax. They're just school friends, nothing serious. Right now, Dowd is more focused on surviving into Chapter 2, and his glove now has a soul link. When enough sacred energy gathers, he can start the spiritual ritual. He tells his brother to go try every ice cream flavor and bring back the best one, and the kid runs off. Now alone, he can finally awaken the ghost from Gregory Pavilion. This is the item he got from the Chancellor. Remember how he asked for an item with someone's spirit inside? This is it. And now that he's developed enough, he can contact someone from the past. The problem is, if it's someone with a fighting style totally different from his, it'll be useless. He begs for it to work. A glow of energy flashes, a gacha card appears, and suddenly a banner rises. Someone drops to the ground and the protagonist is sure it's a knight. And with that orange hair, we already know who it is. Guardian of Dawn, Calivan Chrysonex, Elia's brother. Then we get Elia's flashback again. We already know it. She went back to find her brother, and he never showed up again. Her whole family died. He was one of the guardians who gave his life to protect the city. Through death, he became a hero. But for Elia, it felt like she'd been abandoned. Still, on the day it all happened, she swore she'd follow in his footsteps and defeat the demons. That's how she started training, until she reached the academy, becoming a future hero candidate. And now the mid-year exams are about to start, and everyone has to form teams of 4, Dowd and 3 girls, so we can all be happy. The teacher warns them they need to prepare to face demon worshippers. Dowd talks to Calivan inside the glove, telling him his little sister is right there. Calivan says she used to be a kid who'd fling snot everywhere and dirty up the house. Dowd says she grew up, and Calivan replies that, looking at her now, it was all worth it. He never imagined he'd see her grown up like this as a spirit. Yeah, it's pretty weird. He's still conscious? How is he there, reacting to all of this? Dato says he's the one giving him this chance to experience it, so could he help him? Calivan says if Dato wants help, he can help, but Dato can't tell his sister anything about him, and he's only doing it because maybe it's a dead man's intuition, but he feels Dato is a good person. Dato awkwardly says his only goal was to make sure nobody died. Then he goes up to Elia and asks about the test. Does she not have a team, and would she want to team up with him? She turns bright red like she's about to refuse. Is there going to be a twist? She asks, confused, if he really wants to team up, and he says yes, they should be on the same team. Like always, she makes it dramatic. Now that he's asking, she's like, wait, but you said we weren't that close. He apologizes and says he's asking because he knows he needs her help. Elia goes cross-eyed. She tries to say she already has a team, but one of her friends says Dowd can take her, especially since Elia's been looking for a way to take Dowd down anyway. Elia gets furious, and the guy starts to say something again, but her nun friend slams his head into the floor. Then Elia thanks Dowd and says it'll be the perfect chance for them to learn more about each other. She asks what he thinks about them doing a duo, but he says no. They'll need a team, at least one more person. So who's it going to be? Scene change. The Chancellor. And someone thanks her for accepting. Chancellor, what is this? I didn't know you were hiding all that strength under the uniform. Suddenly jumping into the game like that. It's the crystal ball guy, and she says she doesn't know what the intention of your sacred person is. He says he can't let Lucien just sit around rotting. Lucien is the smoking nun. Everyone in this world needs to learn more about the world, even a saint. And here comes another one. The Chancellor knows that even though this girl is a saint, according to the investigation, she's also a possible vessel for a demon. Well, thanks, I guess. They offered 5, now it's 7. Keep sending more. But the Chancellor also knows the girl is interested in coming here because of her sister. And the crystal ball guy says they've been working hard too. It wasn't easy to send her to this school. The Chancellor asks if they decided this last minute because of the demon incident. He says yes, it's a dangerous incident, and a lot of officials are starting to doubt this place. The Chancellor realizes he's saying that, but he's sending a saint. Maybe she's meant to be a spy, but that girl is also a demon vessel, so she's going to walk into the trap on purpose. He keeps trying to sell it, saying it's great for a saint to go somewhere darkness and evil exist. Her mission at Elephant Academy will be to eliminate all wickedness, and he expects that as soon as she arrives, she'll join the mid-year exams. And there she is, collapsed on the floor like an idiot. While he says they'll handle the rest of the details later, all he wants is for the Chancellor to know the saint is there to destroy evil. But the Chancellor asks if this is the Sacred Emperor's way of humiliating the school and saying they're not capable. And he'd better remember Lucian isn't a saint yet. He laughs and starts to disappear, saying that even so he believes she'll be a huge help. The Chancellor rubs her forehead and thinks that bastard is a sneaky snake. She didn't expect this saint to show up there so easily. It's good that she has one more demon vessel, but the bad part is the girl is being used as an empire pawn, and then she remembers she told Dao to seduce them. Miss Atalante's hypocrisy, right? Still, she's going to have to use the boy for her own personal goals. That's always how she's gotten what she needs. Scene change. The girl's sprawled out there washing her clothes, wondering why it's taking so long. She's thinking about the boy who shows up every day at the same time. The protagonist says his defense looks better today. She should just wait, tomorrow he'll bring donuts or some meat. The little troublemaker doesn't even want him to bring food. She wants to be, a friend. She keeps scrubbing the clothes, saying being with him is enough. But then a voice starts talking to Yuria, saying he's bored. The answer is painfully simple. She's a traitor who got abandoned by her own family, so she needs to understand she's not getting out of this. She should accept her fate already, because that's the only thing she's good for. That's the curse she inherited. Reality hasn't changed. She's going to be alone forever. She's there shaking, breaking out in a cold sweat, while the voice asks when she's finally going to give up for good. And that's when she hears the boy's voice asking why she's crying. Did something happen while he was gone? He even brought the cookies she wanted so badly, and she instantly perks up. Out of nowhere, it's turning into an actual romance, huh? Because up to now, his relationships with women have been nothing but messing around. The real one is that other girl, not the arena one who fought him and never showed up again. The tribal girl. Anyway, the clash is coming soon, no matter what. Right then, Yuria's interest jumps from 1 to 4. She asks if he doesn't hate her, if he isn't sick of her. Confused, he says he's there to ask a favor. Couldn't she leave this place? At that exact moment, crying, she says yes, while her sword shoots toward him on its own. The idiot shredded all the cookies. The protagonist trying to process what just happened while she apologizes, saying he must hate her. At the same time, she wants to get closer to him, and he says he's not doing that great either, and needs to get moving fast. Then the scene cuts to the start of the mid-year exams at Olfantia Academy. Aaliyah says she wants to know what happened to Dao Dude. She has a ton of questions, but he wearing that little mask says they'll talk later. She says no. They need answers now, because why is he bringing a girl around in chains and a collar? He says he can explain. It's not, no, nothing. Weird. Yuria's thinking it was her idea because it makes things more comfortable. Elia's convinced Dowd found the weirdest freak in the whole academy. Honestly, it's a level of perversion nobody's ever seen. Then Calivan's little spirit shows up and tells the protagonist he'd better explain this properly, because his sister is going to get the wrong idea. The protagonist decides to explain nothing and just says she's staying by my side, don't come close. She's part of my strategic plan. Elia says he'd better not be planning to put a collar like that on her neck too. But the boy says it's fine, calls for Yuria, and now we're in the forest watching a bunny hopping around. Looks like what's left of Calivan's group, and everyone's exhausted. One guy up in a tree says that Tribal Association girl was too much even for them. The blonde agrees. If it weren't for all the barriers they put up, they'd all be dead. Then his friend says they should start hunting losers like Dowd, because those are easy points. The blonde says he's not interested. His friend's like, what? Didn't you hate Dowd? He says he did, but things changed. Let's just say he's got a broader perspective on the world now. Cut to the tribal girl again. She's amazing. Look how she wrecked that guy, calling everyone weak, showing off that little thigh tattoo. She wonders why everyone's so useless, then stomps on the guy on the ground saying only filthy trash deserves to die. And then a flash of light, Elnor shows up and blocks. The two stare each other down and the crazy one looks excited. Sparkly light, black energy, the whole ground getting torn up. Elnor says Lilu Garuda is drawing way too much attention for an exiled student. Lilu just stares, thinking she finally found someone useful. Elnor points her sword and warns that as an officer of the delegation she can't just stand there while she kills students, so she needs to stop. Lilu presses her forehead against the blade and asks why. What's Elnor going to do about it? Elnor tells her to calm down. If this were a real battlefield, her head would already be rolling on the ground. This is the last warning. Lilu says fine, then it's a battlefield now. Kill me. The sword's still against her forehead. Elnor pushes in harder while Lilu tells her to just cut already, saying her tribe has tons of people like Elnor. Some skill, no conviction. Even if the love of her life was being stolen, she'd just watch and cry. When Lilu finds someone like that, she stares at Elnor like she's about to unleash a demon. No idea what's going on. She sees a shadow, then looks almost pleasantly surprised, saying her tribe isn't everything in this world after all. She's finally meeting powerful people and it's wonderful. She jumps to fight Elnor. Elnor just watches. Then forced teleport triggers and Lilu disappears. Damn, thought the artist was gonna get that chance. Lilu reappears in a tree and falls like an idiot. She looks around and sees everyone who failed or broke the rules got kicked out of the competition. But when Elnor looked at her, she could feel it wasn't just a power gap. It was like they were born in different worlds. Still, she wonders why, all of a sudden, Elnor looked like she wanted to kill her. What did she say that made her that angry? The guys she beat up earlier are terrified of getting beaten again. Lilu's thinking the last thing she said was about Elnor not protecting her love. So who is it? Yeah, I'm not even gonna tell you. Then it pops up in the protagonist's system. Lilu Garuda is showing interest in you. Meanwhile, he's dragging Yuria through the arena, and she's probably the one wrecking everybody. Elzia is trying to make sense of it, while Yuria is smashing the poor kids. Elzia wants Dowd to explain this misunderstanding already. What's going on? He says he doesn't have time, he's busy controlling Yuria. He yanks her closer and she says she likes being right next to him. Elzia just thinks these two are definitely weird. Then out of nowhere, a guy drops onto a golem and calls out to Elia, tongue hanging out saying he admires her martial skill and her radiant beauty. This guy's a total gigachad, showed up to fight her, beat her, and win her over. The protagonist asks if she really has that many fans. The guy's throwing hearts around, saying he won't let her get kidnapped by that pervert Dodd. Elzia is about to argue Dodd isn't a pervert, then realizes, yeah, he kind of is. So she lets it go. She says she'll take the guy head on. But the guy says he's not here to fight her. The protagonist notices he's using cleric department magic, so they're all nearby. He tries to talk to Calivan, telling him to wake up because he needs a small favor. Calivan says he's not doing it. Sounds dangerous. Yuria looks back and there's a whole bunch of students charging toward the protagonist. The protagonist and the desperate survivor activate rank A. He orders Calivan to show up, and Calivan says he's not appearing for this childish nonsense, for the love of God. The protagonist says his sister is fighting a golem, and Calivan should help her with something. Calivan appears like a little ghost, and gives the Mind Kingdom buff. Yelia looks incredible, says she hates her fans, and slices the guy's golem in half. Everyone's stunned, and the protagonist says there she solved the biggest problem. With the Mind Kingdom buff, he shares the Desperate Survivors bonus with his whole group. It's broken. If it's EX on one person, everyone becomes EX. He says there's only one issue. It uses holy energy, and since he doesn't have much, the buff ends fast. And unfortunately, there's another wave coming. But Kurapika's chain is about to sing, and they get shredded again. Elia tells him to get ready, another wave is coming. Then she triggers a guarding explosion and a cyclone sweeps through, launching everyone into the air. The protagonist's impressed. It's almost impossible to believe he beat this girl back when he had rank F stats. Even Calivan's confused, asking since when his sister got this strong. Her magic, those lunatones, caught the guys in a tornado and carried them away. So their group finally wins. His proficiency goes up. He used Yuria, but didn't heal her. So what now? Elia calls him a weirdo, but thinks that on the other hand, it's always fun being on Dowd's team. And yeah, sometimes you forget, but that red-haired guy in the game's original story was part of the main player party. Elia's old group are the real heavy hitters, the main cast. They're hunting items trying to reach the top of the test, but she's confused because second place isn't a group, it's one person. The blonde says that's impossible. How is someone leading solo? And look who shows up, another top-tier girl, fine old Regifek. Ugly name for such a pretty face. The redhead asks how many points first place has. She says 120. He's like, what group is that? Cut to our boy and his collared girl arriving in front of a weird cave. In theory, if they take that area, nobody can pass them anymore. They go in and the protagonist knows whatever happens in there is always a random event. Elia says, even for a test, this is going too far. Yuria freaks out and asks what his sister is doing there. Main quest number 2. The Boy King. Stop the bearer of the curse of annulment and protect the targets. Lucien, the chain-smoking saint, and Yuria. Elia walks up asking if that girl is feeding this place with holy energy. Yuria stays scared and Elia says that by following the path of the Elfantes, she's going to save her. Then someone says they can't let her do that. A man in armor appears and says the saint is doing volunteer work. High Combat Priest Klein Garrison. Elia, confused, asks what he means by volunteer work. He says the saint is doing it by her own will, so they shouldn't interrupt, and he tells the saint to say the truth. She says yes, she's doing it because she wants to. Elia asks why she'd do something disgusting like that. Klein tells Elia to stay back and says she can't oppose the saint's will, because that's the same as opposing the Holy Empire. Elia says she's not opposing anything, she's saving someone who's suffering. Klein warns that at this rate she'll be stopped by force. Dode seems to recognize the saint, Lucien, one of the 3 people who uphold the Holy Empire's power and who, strangely, along with the Holy Emperor, has an absurd interest in demons. Saint Lucien is basically a puppet the Emperor uses to study those creatures. At this moment, the 2 sisters are being used to complete some kind of objective, and this setup was made on purpose to push Yuria to her limit. Looks like this is still part of the test, or they're pretending it is, because the protagonist says they're in first place and the saint deserves rest, so they already won. Klein says she's staying there until second and third place arrive too, and he's supposed to wait. The protagonist still trying to understand why Klein and Lucien showed up so early compared to the game. It's probably tied to Elnor evolving so fast. The problem is if Yuria goes berserk right now, everything gets worse. The Holy Empire will watch the Academy even more closely, assuming they haven't already figured out what's happening. Then the protagonist throws his glove and it smacks Klein in the chest. Klein looks confused. The protagonist talks trash and says he's challenging the idiot to a duel. He tells Aaliyah to move aside, and she's like, "What are you thinking? Do you really think you can win a duel?" Klein asks if he has any reason to accept. The protagonist ignores him and tells Aaliyah to grab the saint and take her to the infirmary while he handles this guy. Klein asks if he understands what kind of conflict he'll cause by doing that. What's the boy's title exactly? The protagonist says he's the Baron's son from some little farming town. Klein replies that a knight of his class can't be fighting someone like that. So Duod asks why he pulled his sword. "What, you panicking?" The guy draws his blade and says fine, then he'll have to deal with an undisciplined student. In the blink of an eye, he's face to face with Duod, and Duod goes for a quick draw and fires off a slash right at him. Perfect counter. Klein gets thrown back, the girls are confused, and the guy demands to know who Duod really is. Duod just says they'll settle it later, in an official duel, then he'll find out exactly who he is. Klein says fine. Looks like our boy actually managed to get an official duel, because now Atalante's saying he did something insane. Standing up against the Emperor's will is the same as standing against the entire empire. How did he even ask for a duel in a situation like that? Dowd says she's the one who told him to seduce them all. And hey, while they're at it, why not seduce the Chancellor too? Since they're already here, why let her slip away? Atalante wants to know why he's doing this now. He tells her to relax. He took Lucien somewhere far away and safe. Besides, there's no way he can grab these women's attention with mediocre results. Politics doesn't matter when the goal is saving the world from demons, so the Emperor doesn't matter either. Atalante tells him not to forget he already has something going on with Elnor and Elia, and things could get messy. He tells her not to worry. Those two seem calm for now. The protagonist remembers his dad told him not to get involved in trouble, but he already got mixed up with the Angel, with Gideon, and now he's going against the Empire. Atalante says the Emperor himself is probably going to come watch. She doesn't know what he's planning, but he better remember how dangerous that person is. What won't this kid do for two sisters? No, wait. Nope. I'd get arrested for saying that. What won't he do for two adult sisters? There. Speaking of them, there's the little addict sister like always, smoking her cigarettes, lighting them and putting them out. And Yuria walks up, surprised. Lucien calls out to her. Yuria is about to say something, but the sister stands up and tells her to stay right there. The curse was about to strike, but she walks straight ahead, blade drawn, going in. Then Lucien seems to grab the chain too, warning her she needs to remember they're twins. And who's dyeing their hair here? Tell me. Scene changes and it's the day of the duel. It's an informal duel, so killing is forbidden. The first person to take serious damage declares the other the winner, or it ends when someone gives up. The protagonist knows he needs Lucien on his side, because she's the one who helps delay Yuria's awakening. And to keep this blonde girl with him, he has to win this duel, especially since Lucien is the eye of the Holy Empire. He needs to stop her from gathering too much information. He thought the Emperor would show up in person, but he only sent some 3D projection. Grown-up Atalante is thinking even the Emperor doesn't want to lose this fight. Suddenly Klein draws his sword and says it's too late to beg for forgiveness now. Still, he can apologize and fewer bones will get broken. Herman is already telling the protagonist it's better to give up. On the other side, our boy says he was about to tell Klein the same thing. Then we find out the Emperor told the kid not to attack the boy with intent to kill. The more pressure he puts on him, the stronger he gets. Because that's his ability? Damn, the guy knows everything about the whole system. Klein says it's kind of cheating, and the guy says it really is. He saw it in the past and never thought someone else would show up. And now Klein's sure that's how that guy reflected his attack. He has to avoid any hostility or killing intent. Yeah, this is about to get complicated. The human activates stored prisons. A bunch of buffs appear around his feet. He says now he's going to teach an insolent noble a lesson. In an instant, he's right in front of the protagonist, who activates that guide skill he got from Caliban. Then he releases Elnor's skill too, the one he gained in that fight, and uses it right away. A flash of black and red energy. Everything goes black and white. The Mark of the Fallen reacts. Klein doesn't understand what's happening. The protagonist raises his sword before the guy even moves, smacks into his blade, the whole ground explodes, and the arena gets blasted by wind in every direction. Atalante can't believe it. While the Emperor has this smug little grin, the protagonist's eye is glowing with Elnor's energy, and Klein is still lost. The pressure is forcing the other guy's sword down to the ground. The system says demonic energy is concentrating in the Mark of the Fallen. Oh, that mark she put on his chest, right? Everyone's stunned. The sky looks like it's cracking. What is that? A huge Elnor appears. Now even the protagonist is confused, and he realizes time stopped the moment she manifested. Klein wonders what kind of evil pressure this is. Elnor asks something about him fighting again. She tells him not to get beaten up and not to hurt her feelings. Then she touches the sword and tells him to give it everything. Something like that. Klein and apparently nobody else can't see any of this, so he keeps attacking, thinking he felt something for a second. And how did this kid block his attack? Then the protagonist drops the sword and says the one thing he can't do is kill this guy, and he just punches him straight in the face. The kid looks completely dark and intense. It's basically a sure you can. Klein gets launched into the sky. While he's suffering, the Emperor is laughing at him. Then he says that while he wasn't paying attention, the education standards in Euphante rose unexpectedly, Energy surrounds Klein, and the protagonist wonders if that means he won. Someone tells the student yes, so he tells those bastards to stop messing with the saint. The Emperor looks a little startled, and Atalante's thinking this kid has lost it, talking like that to someone like him. Now the Emperor is asking Atalante how this boy can be so rude in front of his highness. But a mustache guy cuts in and says not only did the Emperor send a knight to fight a child, he's also bothering the saint. It's Hatanju, the head of the tribal association, probably connected to that Lilu guy, another villain, and now he's looking at the protagonist like he likes what he sees. He says even if the kid is criticizing the Emperor, it's shameful to try to suppress him after what they did. The protagonist just stands there, waiting to see what happens. The Emperor says fine, this duel didn't really count for anything anyway, so that's that. He waves goodbye, saying he agrees. The boy isn't just talented, he's also sneaky. Then he and Klein disappear. But the scene shifts to the Emperor standing beside that cat girl Saras, telling her to assign an agent to keep an eye on Daoud Campbell. All feline and calm, she says she understands. Here comes the next one. The Emperor thinks the more he sees this kid, the more he's reminded of someone else. Back in the arena, the protagonist wonders if the guy really vanished, and he's declared the winner. Atalante sighs in relief, while Hatan says this kid is going to become a great duelist. Then he tosses him a lion necklace that boosts training efficiency. The protagonist catches it, confused, and Hatan tells him to visit the War Foundry anytime he'll take care of him. Like, what? He's eager to learn more about that strange power. The protagonist doesn't get why he received an item that was only supposed to be handed out in Chapter 3 of the story. Still, at least he caught the attention of the most powerful and most unhinged guy in the tribal association. Cut to Atalante, who finally lets her own potential slip for a second, asking how he used the vessel's power this time. He says it was luck, but she says even if he doesn't want to tell her. The Emperor noticed more and more people are going to come closer, so he'd better get ready. He just says it's fine, that's what he wanted anyway. Night falls, day comes, and someone completed a main quest, Echo of Sanctification and Seed of Evil +1. The protagonist says he has 4 seeds, and there are certain abilities you can only get with rare ingredients like that, like an item called the Eye of Inspection, which can check someone's stats once a day. Since it never fails, he's sure he'll know exactly who to challenge. He decides to test it, but looks at Trisha and says he doesn't even want to know her stats, whatever. He doesn't care about Percy either, but then he spots someone running around fast, and that's the perfect candidate. The rest of the students are exhausted, and he knows his current priority is Elia and Elnor. He activates it, and there it is, Elnor Tristan, Vessel of the Grey Demon. Strength, agility, endurance, everything rank S. Only luck is rank C, but honestly, we're the lucky ones for getting to see her. At that moment, her fusion is at 80%, and corruption at 2%. He's watching her when bam, she disappears and asks what he's doing. The idiot jumps and falls on the ground, and she says the person he asked her to watch isn't normal. There's a really weird pattern in their behavior. He pops up excited, saying it must have been hard. She says it was only possible because she's the president. Then she pulls out some papers and says she has the location records from what happened during the mid-year exam. The protagonist, hyped, runs up and hugs her, thanking the president for the great work. Seriously, calm down. She gets a little awkward, but now they're moving fast. He finds out the person stays at the clock tower until 7, and he knew this guy came to the academy along with the saint. Then he finds Jeffrey, who's actually Valkasis, the so-called boy king. Of course, that's the mission name. He turns and asks if he's Daoud Campbell. The protagonist is confused that the guy already knows who he is. Technically, that kid is the prophet's chosen. Valkasis says the person Daoud assigned to track him was really skilled. He couldn't disappear, so he just waited for Daoud here, even though they're enemies. The protagonist thinks it's weird that this guy is talking. In the story, this kid is just a demon worshipper. You can't even have a conversation with. Valkasis says the prophet warned him, Daoud would be the biggest problem in this place, and Daoud should answer whether he's here to interfere. Seeing him draw power, the protagonist realizes Valkasis really wants to end him, and apparently he already has orders from the prophet to kill him. The prophet being that girl in the tight outfit. The protagonist is sweating cold, staring him down, while Valkasis tells him to say how much he knows. If they're face to face, it's because he already has an idea who he is. But Daoud says, I know you don't have bad intentions, even if your plan is to take over the academy by killing everyone. Hold on, what? So they can't coexist? Valkasis says yes. The prophet seems very interested in that. And there's the prophet, huge. But right now they're interested in figuring out who Daoud really is, even though he probably already knows that in the future he'll face everyone who received divine awakening. I'm as confused as the protagonist. Why is this guy telling him all this? They're enemies, so Valkasis shouldn't be handing out information like that. Let the guy help you. The blonde kid says he doesn't intend to ruin Daoud's plans. All he wants is for them to fight fairly. The protagonist thinks that's strange. Valkasis says a game always has to be fair. To him, Daoud is at a severe disadvantage, no matter how much information he has. And the reason he came to meet him is to find out whether Daoud was going to play unfairly. Daoud thinks the bastard already figured everything out. So he pulls out the Eye of Infection to take a look, and the blonde kid says he can see whatever he wants. Then he sees the kid completely corrupted, with negative 213,000 in applied alchemy. Alchemy is a type of magic class that, unlike regular magic, spiritual power, or divinity, costs your life to use. Valkasis laughs, saying that ability won't be useful in combat. The protagonist asks why Valkasis is even talking. Valkysis says he wants to understand whether what the prophet told him about Dowd was true. He doesn't want Dowd to feel offended. But right now, Dowd isn't a threat to his plan at all. So Dowd raises the stakes and says Valkysis's plan to kill everyone at the academy won't work. He'll do everything he can to stop him. Valkysis says he's delusional to say that after seeing all the alchemy spells inside his body. But the protagonist answers that he's going to save Valkysis and his kingdom. The blonde guy laughs and turns away, saying Dowd is only going to end up as number 213 million or whatever. And he throws himself forward, turns into something terrifying, and leaves. Dowd said all that, but he's not confident. It's really hard for him to beat something like that. Scene change. Lucian is talking with her sister, asking if she liked the clothes. She says yes, but it's kind of embarrassing to wear that. Girl, you're in pajamas. Lucian tells her to take whatever she wants from there. Considering everything Yuria did for her, that was normal. Yuria thanks her while the smoker keeps shaving years off her life, thinking she's happy because she assumed Yuria would be wrecked because of the curse, but she still seems fine. Then she notices Yuria put on a collar and asks what that is. Yuria explains it's a little gift he gave her and it represents the relationship they have. He told her to wear it because otherwise he won't see her. Lucian is obviously confused while Yuria tells her she only wears it because she likes seeing Dute. The blonde, of course, bites down on her cigarette and demands to know where that damn demon is. Cut to the protagonist explaining, it's a weird misunderstanding, but it's because of her curse. He only used the collar because it was the only thing nearby. Oh my god, Lucian is about to respond. She's smoking again. This girl's already gone through like 8 packs. She tells the protagonist that Yuria is her only sister. He tells her to relax. I know. But the blonde wants to know how he even knows they're sisters. She was already furious about that dog collar, and every second he's looking more suspicious. How does some guy from some random city, some random baron, know Lucian and Yuria are sisters? And how did he manage to stand up to a holy knight too? The protagonist just goes, look, Miss Saint, I talked about that with Chancellor Adelante, so I can't tell you. What I can say is I'm on your side and on Yuria's side. She closes her eyes and says she'll let it slide for now, since he really did take care of Yuria. But she doesn't trust him at all. Sooner or later, he's going to have to tell her everything he's planning. He doesn't want to reveal the truth. Both of them are needed for some homunculus plan. Lucian herself is a saint created from combined materials. The holy power she has is basically engineered, and Yuria exists to amplify that power. Or apparently he did tell her everything, and he's saying that's why Yuria ruined everything when she escaped. And now they need to use the chance they have to prepare. 3 days until the attack on the academy. They accessed an area that has a divine item from the academy, somewhere you can only enter with the saint's authority. But she wants to know how that's going to help. The protagonist says it will help, but he wants to know why what she's doing to her sister is worse than what he did. The poor girl is being dragged in with a collar and a bag over her head. Her sister answers that they're disguising it, pretending they're bringing some random girl in to do an exorcism, especially since hardly any students go to the sanctuary. The protagonist tells the saint and that person to leave, but Ellie is standing there all grown up saying no. She has to keep an eye on what he's going to pull. Lucian says having the hero candidate there makes her feel better, and the reason she let her in is because she believes the creator made the right choice. They pull the bag off Yuria's head, and Lucian tells Elia to watch her sister. Elia says she can trust her, and it looks like Lucian leaves. The protagonist explains the smoker can't stay there because only demons can interfere with the human world as much as they want. Angels and saints are different. They follow rules. That's why low-rank angels can barely do anything. Lucian walks out saying she'll wait for Yuria outside. The protagonist thinks he got lucky that Lucian trusts Elia. Elia can't believe they're trusting her this much either. She tells Yuria not to worry, she'll protect her. But Yuria freaks out when she sees the protagonist slash the sacred item with his sword. Elia doesn't really get it. Outside, the girl lights up another cigarette, thinking she doesn't get why everyone trusts this doubt so much. But she'll have to trust the choice her sister and the candidate made. She's sure he won't do anything reckless, right? And then this huge angel shows up floating in front of the boy. Seriously, what is that neckline? Aaliyah is in shock that an angel actually appeared, and I'm basically about to go buy a button to fasten that thing up and keep my channel monetized. Angel of Virtue, A1101. Looks like Virtue is their rank, and the protagonist realizes she's a level higher than he expected. The angel moves her hand like she's doing some special move, and says she understands the human. She put the girls to sleep, I think. Then she comes down and tells him she remembers him, that she talked to her soldiers. Dowd immediately tells her to wait and not attack his mind to implant certain behaviors. The well-fed little angel looks surprised he knows that, and the protagonist thinks in the game that's how angels act. Since they can't physically attack in the world, they always mess with people mentally. So just her standing there in front of him without doing anything was already enough. The angel says his thoughts are interesting and the protagonist drops to the ground. Her plan was to give a simple warning, but his act of blasphemy looks intentional. And wow, the camera is really zoomed in on her mouth. She says he looks prepared because it's going to happen. Like, yeah, you already know it's some random labyrinth. What did you think it was going to be? The protagonist realizes this is actually his mental space. The angel asks why there's nothing here. Normally a mental space takes the shape of a person's morality, so why does his look empty? She can't tell if he's good or bad, or if she made a mistake. She's scratching at herself, trying to figure out how she's supposed to handle this. Meanwhile, the protagonist is more interested in the fact that if his mental space formed, his soul is exposed, which is exactly what he wanted. Because the moment a space connects to his soul, someone is going to attack. Yuri is there, passed out, and suddenly the whole place turns purple. The angel asks if he closed his own mental space. He says he can't. He didn't even create this. Something starts rising up the pillar, and the angel looks scared. She wonders what it is, looks again and says, once again there was nothing. That's weird. And then there's a little demon girl on her back. The angel turns in time to see it, but in the next second she's completely wrapped up in hair. I thought it was Elnor, but it's demon version Yuria. And the boy is there with his deadly charm switched on. He already took his shirt off. What are you doing, dude? Calm down. The fragment of the white demon got interested in him. She's staring, calling him beloved, and his chest is crackling where the tattoo is. The hair starts wrapping around as she says she always wanted to meet him. The angel doesn't understand, while the system says the authority of temptation and the charm skill are clashing. And oh my god, watch out. The demon is coming in like she's about to claim him. That tongue is huge, be careful. She asks if he missed her, and the guy, yeah, he's fully reacting. The protagonist knows that if he gives in to the temptations, he becomes her slave. Like, what do you mean I have to become a slave? But the angel yanks the hair and says that's enough. She starts pulling the demon girl away, telling the boy to stay still and be careful. The protagonist is impressed the angel is actually managing to pull her. Then Yuri attacks her. She lands a brutal punch right in the face. The angel hits back too. It looks even, but the angel gets thrown across the room and explodes into the wall. When she starts opening her eyes, Yuri is already coming in to hit her again. Boom. And the protagonist is just there, knocked out. He gets up and tells the white demon to stop, saying if she hurts the angel, he'll never forgive her. In theory, she's here for him, so she needs to let that girl go. The angel is getting beaten and telling the demon to stop. Yeah, she's not listening. So the protagonist warns the demon they'll see each other later. But if she doesn't stop right now, he'll throw himself in. Because if he dies in mental space, that's it. She asks if he's threatening her. He says yes. She says she wants him to do that more often. Then she accepts it and says goodbye, warning she'll come back to take his soul. She disappears and the protagonist says it was perfect. Now the angel owes him one. He turns and asks if that isn't true, and she immediately tells him to just say what he wants. Scene change. The girl who already shaved 10 years off her life is impressed. He managed to get Angel's steel. He says he's going to use it to create an item that can end Yuri's curse. Ezia asks if one is enough. He says there are others. The reason to use that steel is because it's insanely durable and raises a person's level of divinity. And it can't be damaged by anything except another steel of the same type, or pandemonium magic. Ezia says she gets it. They needed to find the angel to undo the curse, but Dowd says the fight hasn't even started. There's a lot of mess still coming. Ezia and Lucien tell him to say it already. How is this attack going to go? They need to prepare. This time it looks like he's going to reveal everything, because he says he'll explain how they're going to save the school. Everyone's working hard. Elnor on paperwork, Persial at the forge, while Volcasis is just waiting. Elia's old group comments that the last train outside finally arrived. Their group is getting strong and nobody can stand up to them. The protagonist walks by, thinking it's funny how nobody knows what's really coming. It'd be nice if he could live a calm student life like this, but it's not like his real-life school days were good either. Then out of nowhere, the prophet shows up to talk to him. My latex girl, she says she's what he should call the butterfly effect. He doesn't get it, and she says everything he's been doing put her right in front of him. He wants to ask something, but in a second she's behind him saying it's weird how he seems to have everything under control. She thought he'd be strangely skilled, but he's extremely normal. How is someone like him lasting as long as the demons? The protagonist has no idea who she is or who she was in the original story. He asks who she is and she says she's his #1 fan. What? She's basically like, what the hell? She throws herself at him saying she's sure she's better than all those demon girls. And he's just confused. What happened? Why is this girl here? Where did she come from? Then she pulls out a paper, no idea, and says she found the key and he really is careless. The protagonist doesn't understand why is he in a situation that feels dangerous, but the system isn't notifying him. And now this girl is sitting in the back saying those girls are getting way too close and she wants to kill them all because none of them know who he really is. She's the only one who understands him, the only one in this world who can look him in the eye. Not even another villain or the demons can do that. I'm trying to figure it out with you. She says she knows he's been preparing for the fight against Volcasis. He thinks it'll happen tomorrow and he'll handle it. But what if the invasion happened today? She says she wants to believe in him even more, so she wants him to show what he's capable of. Yeah, she definitely did something, because the whole barrier is starting to break. Poor Aaliyah is there with her group, eating snacks, saying it's delicious. The two of them are chatting like, oh, you're so amazing, hero candidate warrior. Aaliyah says, I'm not that strong. And the other one goes, no, you are. You've been training with Dowd, but none of that matters. The whole academy starts shaking. Everyone's trying to figure out why the barrier looks like it's cracking. Come on, Lulu, don't you like a fight? Wake up. Hey, little witch, you too, everybody up. Seeing the crack in the ceiling, Aliyah knows every evil creature nearby is going to notice it right away. My wonderful beloved Atalante is already getting close. She activates some magic over there, looks like she's reinforcing the barrier, while thinking this all happened way faster than Dowd said it would. If this is part of his plan, he's got a lot to answer for. Yeah, not this time, sweetheart. A teleportation magic circle appears above the main tower. And that's it, the monsters have arrived. The poor background characters are all in shock and the street is already swarming with creatures. Meanwhile, Valka says the kid was naive to think the enemy would ever reveal the date they were going to attack. Enough, dude, I've waited long enough. And those monsters, one of them is there grabbing the kid's big head with its huge tongue wrapped around him. But hold on, our dear Professor Conrad comes tearing in, ripping through them, yelling at those idiots to take this seriously, because this isn't some kind of rehearsal. Wow, those were hero candidates, Alia's friends, oh for the love of God. We're screwed. Conrad looks up at the ceiling and knows the biggest problem isn't even the portal creatures. It's the fact that if the barrier isn't restored, they'll have zero protection. How is the Chancellor supposed to fix that? The blonde kid is telling everyone to group up, but the beast won't give them time. The soldiers, poor guys, even more random than the students, charge in. I respect someone who mod. Yeah, no, actually, I was going to respect him, but the guy gets eaten in the very next panel. And the loudmouth protagonist realizes the amazing plan he put together just got wrecked out of nowhere. The barrier is gone and there are monsters all over the school. Someone call Elnor. There she is with her sharp sword and that huge hat, asking if he didn't hear the evacuation order. When the protagonist sees her, he remembers he has to come up with a solution no matter what. If that's not possible, then at the very least he has to fight. She walks up, telling him to answer her and stop acting like he can't hear. Ophelia screams for everyone to regroup with the student council. Elnor tells him to go on ahead, and the protagonist says he's going to need Elnor's help one more time. If she follows him, they can save the school, and explosions are going off everywhere. At the same time, Ophelia is calling for Elnor. The protagonist goes for the emotional angle, telling Elnor to remember everything they've been through so far, all the incidents. Since the beginning, back on the day of the train accident, he might be weird, but when he says he has a plan, he's not lying. Ophelia is ordering Elnor to bring that kid over already so they can leave, and then Elnor lowers her head, apologizes to Dowd and says this is the last time she's trusting him. Okay, thank God, I thought she wouldn't. So the two of them run off in another direction, while Ophelia thinks Elnor is being an idiot. Elnor tells the protagonist to spit it out. How are they going to fix this? He says he knows someone who's here. He runs up to some hooded people and asks for help, and they say they can't do anything. But the kid says he knows they were sent by the Emperor after what happened in the duel. They're here to observe, and they're exorcists. The hooded ones keep denying it, and the protagonist tells them to stop pretending. He knows their only purpose here is to keep an eye on him. The white-haired girl answers that it's true, so what? It's enough that he's alive. The protagonist realizes those bastards don't even care if the academy gets destroyed. Because of those two, he won't die, but then he'll lose the contest against Valkasis. Meanwhile, they're passing information to Saris, a cute girl, telling her they found the item she's looking for. The protagonist doesn't feel like dying, so he just yells and tells the damn woman to help him. He shouts the name Saris Dreamore, saying he knows she can hear him. The white-haired girl looks confused, but then the charm activates, and Saris, the master of assassins, shows some interest. Saris tells this Vizsla to help the boy. A little abdomen-looking thing shows up, and she says she understands. While they're in the middle of this drama, Feinrich is appearing all over the school, except they're heading toward the little trio of assassins. Saris says the boy will have to explain later how he found out about her and take responsibility for what he said. What did he say? He just said your name, relax. Her trained assassin starts helping, slicing the beasts apart everywhere. What is that flexibility? Calm down. Elnor looks impressed by the power, while the protagonist says they don't have time, they need to go to the clock tower now. The enemy they have to defeat is up at the top. Elnor wants to know how he has that information, and he better not make up excuses because she's already noticed that ever since they met, he's never said a single sincere word, always hiding everything and talking in circles. But she thinks he has a reason for acting like that, and that's the only reason she trusts him. So this time he doesn't even need an excuse, they'll just focus on what needs to be done. The protagonist is about to thank her, but he gets covered by a shadow, and here comes the problem. A creature from the game known as the Terror of Flesh, an immortal monster with infinite regeneration. The only way to clear this part is to lure it to another area. The protagonist tells Elnor to distract it, but she's over there daydreaming, saying she's going to split it in half. The kid tries to warn her, don't do that, but she doesn't listen. Once she's mad, it's over. She starts thrusting like crazy. Tristan attacks sequence. The beast swings a huge slap at her. He tells her to counter. She draws her sword and uses Tristan's defense. But in the end, her blade breaks. She realizes not even the Tristan technique works against this monster. The protagonist doesn't have time to stay there. He needs to climb the tower now. But he can't just abandon Elnor. She starts trying to build up that aura, saying even if she dies, he has to save Alphonte. But Dowd is disappointed in her. Why is she shaken just because her sword broke? Elnor, the La Tristan of the story, isn't the kind of person who would show weakness like that. She's supposed to be the final boss of this game. Fair point. So the protagonist calls her over, shakes his hips, leans in close and says he has something to tell her. I don't know what he said, but boom, he said it and vanished. And then yeah, he must have said something wild, because she snaps out of nowhere and slashes the monster's abdomen, and the thing splits in half while transforming. From up above, Valkas watches everything, saying the kid really is interesting. The protagonist arrives. The blonde asks if the kid remembers the bet. The protagonist says of course he's there to beat him. Then the guy activates 16 demonic circles and says he hates demons and all their worshippers are disgusting. The protagonist goes to draw his sword and says he knows exactly why Valkus acts like this. Demons caused him pain for thousands of years. The only reason he's teaming up with a prophet who's interested in demons is because of one certainty, the certainty that he can finally get a death with no strings attached. Okay, that's starting to make sense. In the original story, the prophet tells Valkusus she'll be able to kill him, because Valkusus apparently is an immortal homunculus, so that's why he has that billion deaths thing. And the prophet warned that if Valkusus destroyed the entire academy, his wish would be granted. After years and years of waiting, he decided to trust the prophet. Valkusus asks how the kid thinks he can win if he knows about the promise. Dowd answers that if he didn't know, he wouldn't be so confident. The blonde says, fine then. If the kid knows the situation, he also knows he has no choice but to attack. Valkus's curse is that he can only die in a fight where he's using 100% of his strength, and the protagonist tells him to go all out. Scene cuts to Elia saying she never imagined she'd experience this with her friends. Yuria asks if they're really going to do it, while Lucien says she trusts Elia's timing. The three of them are on a catapult, and Elia tells them to get ready. Yuria pulls the lever, hits it, and they get launched. Did the protagonist tell them to launch themselves to the top floor? Back in the fight, Valkusus tells the protagonist to prove he's not just talk. Unfortunately, Dowd is confused, because right then his brain was freezing up. He remembered the attack patterns perfectly. Tentacle in zone 223, then a laser you have to duck. He knows phase 1 is easy. He wonders if he should use Tristan's defensive technique, but in the end he follows instinct and just dodges. It's like he's torn between using the power he has and trusting his gamer strategy. And Valkusus is saying it's funny. The kid said he came to fight, but he's just running. It's disappointing. The protagonist hides, not caring about being humiliated. He's here to survive. He's going to use every veteran trick he can. He's just an F-rank kid. There's no way to solve this head on. Then he sees something flying through the air. It's the terror of flesh, or really just its head. And he remembers that in the game, when that happens, the monster's head explodes. Down below, Elnor is cutting through everything. Valkusus is attacking, and the blast goes off up top. Elnor keeps farming aura down there while the protagonist comes out of the explosion alive but wrecked. Valkusus tells the kid to show his will to fight. But then the monster is already face to face, saying the moment it shows that form, it's unstoppable. He didn't expect much from the kid, but he'll remember his courage. The finishing blow is coming straight at his face, but the protagonist gets shoved back by a sword with a chain. How did you get here, acrobat? Lucien's even got little angel wings. What is this, you show off? Yuria celebrates that the protagonist is okay, and Elia arrives saying he held out long enough. The protagonist is happy they came, even though the agreed date was tomorrow. Yuria shows that thanks to the crown they made with that angel material, her curse is under control. And not only that, now she starts transforming. She looks like a full-on knight. Valkusus says he understands the kid's plan now. They can finally begin. And Dowd sees the situation he needed is perfect. He starts running, saying, if they do exactly what he says, they'll win. Nobody leaves their position. One mistake and it's over for everyone. So listen carefully. Lucien gets emotional, saying it's the first time the sisters will fight side by side. And wow, that armor really makes you look taller. The protagonist starts calling it out. A laser is coming from the side. Lucien needs to prep Prayer 37 so Elia can push forward. The girls obey. Valkusus charges another attack and fires. Lucien says the kid gives way too many orders for someone who doesn't do much. The laser slams straight into her barrier. Yuria ducks and the protagonist warns that a tentacle attack is coming. Yuria has to duck first and then reflect. She charges, gets the block, holds it. He tells her to fall back and Elia to advance. He keeps barking commands. Now Lucien buff Elia so her strike hits harder. A laser is going to come right at your face, but don't be scared. Just keep going straight and it'll miss. And it works. Elia runs through the huge blast and slices it in half. The boss is completely confused, saying something's wrong. Why do they know every one of his attacks? How is it possible for someone to conduct a fight like this? The protagonist tells Yuria to keep the pressure. Elia starts conjuring an explosion of fire and throws a massive flame burst. As it hits, Valkusus says the kid really wasn't just talk, but it still won't be enough to kill him. The circle above the tower keeps expanding, shooting rays everywhere, while my girl Atalante is still trying to rebuild that barrier. Girl, you've been on that for 6 chapters. Back to the fight. Lucien keeps raising barriers, Yuria keeps pushing, and the protagonist keeps counting every pattern, until the boss says they're getting way too predictable. But when he goes to hit them, the protagonist calls it. She rolls and counterattacks. Elia swings and lands a clean hit right in the middle of his forehead. That same chain reaches back to Lucien, and she says this time Valkusus is going to regret it. She activates a trial of faith and a burst of light explodes at the top of the tower. It worked. Valkusus turns back into a little boy with the thing stabbed into his chest. He's screaming, purple and gold energy blasting everywhere, while Lucien asks how he's even surviving this. The blonde is furious, saying he can't die like this, he has to protect his kingdom. Golden energy starts gathering above him, and Elia realizes this is the only chance they're going to get. They've done enough damage to the heart, now they just have to cut off the head. The protagonist, though, tells her to wait. Damn, he tells her she's already done enough, that all of them need to get down there, and that he'll handle the rest. She says he's lost it. Can he see the guy is still standing? He answers that the situation is perfect, but now they have to go down or everyone's going to be destroyed. He thanks them for what they did, but says this is his part of the plan now. Yuria sees her brother there, hesitates for a second, and then tells Saint Yuri that she was going to help the protagonist so he wouldn't die. But then she sees her brother and asks what this letting Dao die thing is supposed to mean. The protagonist says she's not getting it, and he promises he'll come back with the win. His plan was never to die here. Ilya is frozen, totally freaking out, and Lucienne goes, "Come on, sweetheart. This is taking way too long." Then she grabs her hand and jumps with her little sister. The protagonist, watching Valkissus fall apart, says the condition to lift this guy's curse is to win a fair duel. And in this situation, the only person who represents justice is him, Dowd Campbell, with all his rank F stats. Then he combines the soul link with the demonic essence, and he asks Calivan if it hurts when you die. Calivan asks if he's an idiot for thinking it wouldn't. The protagonist laughs and says he's never asking that bastard for advice again. With that, he activates the Stigmata skill. Out of nowhere, the whole place goes dark. Purple lightning starts striking the protagonist. He spits blood and sees the little boy at the back of the room. He crawls over there. The kid's blood is more purple than red. And after all that, he finds Valkissus sitting there, just watching the whole empire go up in flames. Everything is being destroyed, until he senses someone and looks back. It's the protagonist, and he tells the boy he needs to be careful, or he'll get stuck there with him inside those memories. The protagonist, though, tells Valkissus to cut it out with this winning one by one thing. He's gonna save the kingdom and save him too. The blonde kid laughs, saying the boy clearly knew the risks, but still went all the way. He truly won. I don't know what happened, but he held out his hand to the blonde kid and saved him, because the barrier started rebuilding itself. Adelante, who definitely talks a big game, couldn't do anything in the end. It was only the protagonist who fixed it. The portal disappears from the top of the tower in a flash. The main quest is completed. He gets 1,000 total points, and he also unlocks a special interaction with the Inquisition. When the protagonist starts opening his eyes, guess who's there? Full Lips, sitting in his lap, asking if she came up there right after he beat the monsters. She says yes. He asks if she's mad, since he left her down there to talk to the weird kid. She answers that her anger is for a different reason. She ran into the hero candidate and the saint on the other side of the tower, and it looks like they all helped him beat Valkissus. That's weird because she's the one who should have been brought along for a decisive moment like that. The protagonist doesn't get it. Is this jealousy, or is her pride hurt? He gets up and says she shouldn't be jealous, and she tells him to drop dead, saying no way. The protagonist thinks everything worked out. Now Calivan's and Valkissus' souls can rest in peace. He tells Elnor to stop looking at him like that. What's with that mischievous little face? He says now they'll have to get ready because the rumors are probably going to spread everywhere. She says she's not that interested. She's more interested in that dinner he still owes her. Then the scene changes, and everyone's celebrating that they're finally going to have vacation from that damn school. And what's the smoker doing? Shaving years off her life, wondering how Dowd knew Valkissus' weaknesses. Yuria says he's always been a meticulous kid. The important thing is that in the end, everything worked out. Her sister says she can't relax that much. It's not like the Holy Emperor is going to give up on their plan since both of them are part of some homunculus deal. Yuria answers that now he'll have to hunt them down, and it won't be so easy anymore, until someone comes up and tells her for the love of God to put out that little cigarette. Oh, it's the little witch Fainal, who only shows up now, huh? The scene switches to Elia's room. She's insecure, wondering if she really has what it takes to deserve the title of future warrior. Her friend says she was definitely a key piece in that last attack, but Elia feels like she's just blindly following in her brother's footsteps. Wow, walked by and gave those thighs a good squeeze, girl. Scene switches to the protagonist, talking with Adelante, who says the boy is definitely going to be hunted by demon worshippers now. He says it's way too late for her to be saying that he's been in this for a long time already. Then she tells him to rest and remember he's still a student. Dowd stops to think that so far he's only cleared the second chapter, and he needs to figure out what's going on with that so-called prophet. There wasn't any female demon worshipper who played that role in the game. Then Adelante tells him to go along with it. He's standing there not understanding anything. Go along with it? What are you talking about? She says the boy is supposed to go with Elia to visit his family. Damn, go with Elia and with Elnor? Girl, can you just do that? Just send women wherever you want? Oh right.